All right, so that is going to be our schedule for the day, and unfortunately, we'll get Sumi and her thoughts on it in a bit. But yeah, that's going to be our schedule. In fact, we've got a lot of good things coming out from this Q&A. We've going to be able to talk. We've actually got a little bit of a secret. I'm not supposed to spoil this yet, but I'm going to take the opportunity anyway. We've actually got some secret footage that we're going to be showing you guys that isn't in the documentary. So when the documentary is done, be sure to stay tuned and watch that, because I personally got a pretty good kick out of being able to see that. So that is going to be it for our schedule, and then we are going to be heading over to start off our show match, which is OG versus Beastcoast, and I'm not going to be doing it alone here. I'm going to be joined by two excellent gentlemen, probably the best gentlemen you want for a show match. It's the meme team of ODPixel and Lacoste. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Well, yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Sorry, I forget you guys are in Europe, so I guess it's afternoon for both you and OG.
It is. It is. And this is this best kind of time to get the Dota done. You know, you've had your dinner, you're ready to go. Very much looking forward to this. I mean, Lacoste, we're going to get a lot of fun from OG and Beastcoast, right? Two fun teams on their own accord. You get them head-to-head. It's going to be a good game of Dota too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these two teams, they don't need any introductions, and it's probably going to be chaotic, you know, considering the mode that they will be playing.
Well, they don't need an introduction, but we're going to give them an introduction anyway, because we're going to start off with Beastcoast. For those of you guys who are unfamiliar with them, we've got Whisper, K1 Stinger, Chris Luck, and Schofield. And I have to say, I love the beard that K1 Hector's rocking now. He looks pretty sick with that. Of course, these guys, they shouldn't really need an introduction because of their incredible performance at TI9. They really did kick some butt there, and we'll be taking a look at the other roster here in a second, which is OG. You know him, you love him. Power, Friendship, and Flowers. Samael Thompson, a No-Tail, Soxa, and Seb. We do have word that Seb is actually going to be having a stand-in today with Misha, their new coach that they just announced. Their head coach is going to be joining them for this show match. So it's going to be a good time. Oh, and then Lacoste, what do you guys think? We're not going to be doing a normal mode either, right?
I honestly, Cap, I'm not 100%, but I think we're doing a random draft, right?
Yep, that should be what we're doing. So, Lacoste, anything you're hoping to see from a random draft game?
I just want to see techies being banned because people will pick it up, and then we might end, with a 92-hour game, and things will get delayed, and no one wants that.
That's true. Nobody wants to be able to see that. Of course, some sickos do want to be able to see attackies, myself included. But we'll just have to wait and see what actually does get drafted, as our game should be underway pretty soon here. And in fact, wow, look at that. The draft is already underway. Of course, it's not going to be your normal draft that we're going to be seeing. Random draft limits the heroes down to about a quarter of the
There it is. There it is.
They're listening. They're in our heads.
Here we go. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. The debut of the documentary will now be postponed until tomorrow morning. we got add a point. Oh my goodness! Look at this.
They got the combo. They got every single hero that can reposition. All they need is Magnus. Last pick into the mines. They have a toss back. They have a pudge hook.
Keeper of the light.
This is beautiful. This is exactly what we want. The picks coming out thick and fast.
This is fine.
More team fight.
Spear will do the trick.
That's a nice combo right there. Techies Mars, I've played that a number of times. It feels real good.
Wind Ranger at your service.
Wait, am I going crap? Where's Pudge? Did I imagine a Pudge?
He's not there. I believe we saw him. He's just missing.
Did I imagine?
He got banned.
Oh, no, I got you baited.
You really did.
I was looking forward to Pudge techies. There's no Pudge? You're telling me there's no Pudge? All right, well.
They just ruined the combo.
Sorry, everyone. Yeah, disappointed. Well, at least you got the spear in the techies. Spear into mines. Sand King.
Oh.
Spirit Breaker. Oh.
Spirit Breaker to wrap things up. Not quite a mid-Spirit Breaker a la Zhao Wei, but it's still going to be a Spirit Breaker nonetheless. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's going to be very happy to see that hero. All right, gentlemen, last thoughts before I send you away to the game?
Chaotic draft from Beastcoast, but, seeing techies with Tiny and Mars, I'm slightly favoring OG's draft here.
Owen?
I think I've got to agree the techies is going to... Actually, no, you know what? No, I think Beastcoast has got this. I think Thompson's going to mean too far with his techies. I think Beastcoast is going to roll them over here.
All right, gentlemen, I'll leave you to it. It's going to be Owen and Lacoste covering your random draft show match between OG and Beastcoast.
All Right, ladies and gentlemen, big welcome to you this evening. It should be a fun one, as we said. OG and Beastcoast, two great fun teams. We've just had the lineups coming up on your screens. We are getting a Techies Lacoste, so there is no knowing how long this best of one will be. I'm hoping for it to be on the longer side of things. I'm ready to see some people running over the mines and blowing up in the late game. We'll see if we get there. But Lacoste, thoughts and feelings about these two drafts we're going to see OG and Beastcoast play with here today?
Beastcoast, we're gonna run a 2 draft with Windranger, with Chaos Knight, Ogre. Like, this lineup comes online very quickly, and we can see already OG smoking, 5-man smoke. They want to get the first blood, K1.
Oh! See if Smell can find the setup here. Cookie in.
Spear back.
Here we go. They've caught him. See if who's going to get the first blood. Who they want to give it to?
They want to give it to him.
Oh, and he's got it. Straight in with the blast off. Chris, I mean, I love this from Chris. Look, he's just running in. I don't think he's going to be able to do anything else. Maybe with a big blast from Whisper. Oh, no, Whisper off the mark. Power shot down the middle of them. They're going for Thompson in with the charge. Thompson. Can the rest of OG get Thompson back to safety? Schofield's trying to stay on target, but the Cookie's back up. Is now Schofield in trouble as he's got no way out of this one. Another jump forward with the bow strike. He goes down. Finally, Thompson will be taken out by the Illuminate. Maybe they can get Stinger as well here, OG. Good body block from Misha. The coach.
Yeah, this is not a coach. This is a real player. Look at the body block. So when
implying that no coach ever has been a real player, Lacoste. That's quite the flame.
And he's out of the trouble. Blast.
Oh! He's still alive. Look at him go. This is why they picked him for the job, Lacoste. Misha,
this
he's
guy's
out
too
of
good. Like, Seb is gonna get kicked.
Don't announce it before it's announced, Lacoste. That is highly confidential information. Misha in, Seb out. You heard it here. Excellent stuff here from Misha. He's going to get up to the top. They're going to be playing. Let's see what lanes they're going to be playing. Samael, backed up by Misha on the top lane on this Mars Snapfire combo. He gets to Whisper and Schofield lane here. And it looks like Whisper's probably going to be taking the CS. He started with the Null Talisman here, ready to get his farm on. Some interesting matchups all across the board, really. Mid lane, Chris Luck on the CK playing mid against the Thompson Techies. And then down on bottom lane, you've got K1 farming to his heart's content on the Ogre Magi, supported by Stinger on the Rim Ranger against No Tail.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about these 2 drafts, like, I don't know which one I would love to play on, to be honest. Like, at this point, I might have Shadow Amulet queued up, to be honest.
I'm dead.
I mean, if this happened in your pub game, you probably would. It's understandable. Honestly, I'd be most hyped to be playing the Ogre. K1 on the carry Ogre Magi. It's strong. You become an unkillable beast, throwing out insane amounts of damage. Ignite already on its own is ridiculous, but once you get later down the line, get some cooldown reduction. Good luck trying to kill this Ogre. I think K1 could become an unstoppable beast this game, and could even decide to tank up and walk over some mines.
Oh, great shackle.
Oh, lovely stuff here. It's No Tail. He's dead. Stinger there, finding the angle. At the same time, we're going to have Misha and Samael get the kill onto Schofield. So action already kicking off on the side lane.
K1 on Ogre, like, this is his traditional build. Play something that is fairly tanky and go Hand of Midas, especially with Ogre. I don't think there's a better combination. Toss back into stun, but Ogre's too tanky.
As we can see at the moment, neither team actually able to get a CS yet. They call themselves professional players, but I'm pretty sure I would have at least managed 2 minutes in. Oh, here we go. There we go. All right, they've caught up. That was pretty instant. But there we have the CS on your screen, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for that. Lacoste was still writing out the numbers manually. It is his job.
Yeah, did not receive the email what needs to be done to
he needs
put
to type
overlays and stuff. Yeah.
Bottom
it's
lane.
not my screen that we're looking at. Don't worry. All right, another death. K1 actually not an unstoppable beast.
Not yet. No, it takes time. Needs his Midas, and then you want to go Midas refresher so you can refresh the Midas, so then you can get double the chance of multicast. It's all about increasing your odds here. And that's what you want to do. We'll see if K1 understands that that is the correct build. We'll see what he does. How are we seeing on the CS in the mid? Thompson actually... I mean, I guess he's dropping mines.
Yeah, but the bottom, Saxa dropping fairly low again.
Oh. The toss and the avalanche. Saxa, he's still alive here. He's trying to juke around the trees, but K1 will find him. Still not able to get away with it here. Saxa, as he does die, K1 will be able to resume farming. Doesn't actually have any regen in the lane at this moment in time. So we'll have to be a little cautious. Stinger is able to get
go back to Thompson. He has power treads already. With Thank just suicided. Back to full HP, full mana. Has
No, he's
power
not.
treads? What is this build, Owen?
I don't know. It's the right-click techies build. He's gonna go treads into Witchblade by the looks of it.
Dire's
Top lane.
tower is under attack.
On the hunt for Whisper.
Considering how much farm he has and the XP, I feel like he's playing the turbo mode.
It's coming in pretty fast. I mean, what, 3 to 5, 4 minutes in. Another death on this top lane. Smel's gonna be pretty happy
love
up
the
here.
build on Spirit Breaker, Owen. I don't know if you noticed. Going for the Meteor Hammer straight away. And just by having Ring of Health, this
Dire's middle
brings
tower
back the
is under
memories.
attack.
Dota, maybe even Dota 1 days. Like, you just started with Ring of Health, nobody can harass you.
I mean, it makes sense. It's, you know, HP regen is an incredibly valuable thing, and yeah,
Radiant's
he knows.
structures are
Schofield, he
fortified.
remembers, and he's ready to charge in onto this top lane. Whisper, he's already going to die before he makes it up to there. Schofield, he doesn't care. Still goes in for a bit of damage onto the two of them underneath the tower. Oh, we're seeing the moves from Thompson now. What's his plan? He's heading off. Got some
he
stats.
did not watch enough documentaries to see how speedy the bull is. Didn't calculate correctly.
Schofield, he might be dead here. Got the spear on him. Cookie forward from Misha, and Schofield's out of the top lane. Samael and Misha, they're crushing this top lane. Samael 2-0 and 4. A lot of kills going the way of OG up on the top half of the map so far.
Yeah, for people who don't know who Misha is, he is their new head coach. He's the previous player for the Windstrike, Espada, Big Burrow.
Oh, K1.
He TPs to the bottom lane to just steal the kill. This is my type of the player. Like,
mean,
I
he's-
want to play with this guy. He's involved in 7 out of 8 kills.
Dude, he's crushing it. 3-0-4. Misha, ladies and gentlemen, as you said, you might not have heard of them before if you've not been following all the scenes, all the games, all the teams. But certainly making a name for himself here, as he's showing why OG have decided to pick him up and get him involved in the squad. This is a solid start on the Snapfire from Misha.
That's one way to start a fight. Just toss in Snapfire. She uses a cookie into Scatterblast +1. No-Tail getting some decent farm on the bottom.
Got the charge coming on Sax. We might see a bit of a brawl down here. As Schofield's ready to get involved. Shackle in onto Saxa. See if they can take out the Tiny first. Still pretty beefy, and with the cookie forward over towards the Wind Ranger. It's gonna be Stinger that's in trouble. Burrow Strike comes out as well. OG holding the two of them in place
Misha
perfectly.
was waiting. I noticed that. He was waiting just to get the last hit.
He's going to look for some more. He's going to have Scout Blast up in a second. They might get the chance to take down Schofield. Oh, charge over towards the Snapfire, but the Burrow Strike's back up for No-Tail. Schofield goes down. Saxa, he's able to walk it all off. A quick toss onto the two of them, separates them. Chris Luck still looking for the dive, looking for the high five before he slaps him in the face here.
Oh, I love this.
Radiant's courier has
Oh.
been killed.
There we go.
He
Does it in
knew.
style.
He exactly knew how much damage he can do with it.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
Chris
did.
Luck playing the Chaos Knight. Like, it can either be Chris good luck or Chris bad luck. You never
That's
know what
true.
can happen.
That's true. He's certainly going for the RNG, and you know, consider the way the top lane went. He's 1-0-1. We'll see what he's going to build up. He has got the gloves of haste. I wonder if we see a few Midases coming out this game. Charging onto Thompson mid. I might be able to kill him here. Chaos Bolt. It's not going to be enough. Thompson is
Too tanky.
Not dying here.
Power treads on strength, just not enough damage to kill him. You always gotta be careful with techies. Oh, he tried to go for the big play.
Oh, he is Thompson. But Schofield's coming
mine.
to charge. As the
got him.
crit. It was a cute little attempt there from Thompson. Doesn't pay off. Thompson goes down. Chris Luck.
There's a very cool interaction if techies is flying, trying to use his blast off and gets cookied, he runs out of the screen and you play 4 versus 5 until the end of the game.
I hope they land that. I hope they land that combo across. We've got to see it. We want to see him flying all over the place.
There's too much action happening, Owen. Like, I'm clicking all over the place. You can hear my mouse click, 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 click.
Thompson's it. Quick mine to the face there. Schofield goes down. Thompson jumping forward. Looking for more. Will get blasted back by Whisper. Stinger gets the space to back out of there. Just earlier, K1 goes down again. He's nearly got his Midas online. Very close to having it done. Then all that's required is, you know, we talked about Chris Luck's luck, but K1, of course, also going to be holding out for the multicast on the Midas. Chris Luck, going in for more. He'll be able to
big
take
nuke.
down Misha. They might be able to dive for this. Thompson and Samael, they're around the tier 2 tower. Whisper, is going to line up a blast onto Thompson. Ooh, tries to bounce it back into it with some stinger. Finish off Samel on the side, and Chrislock will be able to get in and take down Thompson. TP's coming over now from OG. They're going to look for Chrislock. Can he juke his way out of this? He's got the ult. He might just look to turn and fight. But Sandstorm is down. Of course, no detection on himself. They'll even pop off the epicenter to make sure Chrislock doesn't stand a chance of escaping. As OG will manage to punish the aggression there from Beastcoast a little bit.
These are my type of games, you know, chaotic, a lot of action happening, 22 kills in 9 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about adapting, like how good you can adapt, how much farm you can get in the jungle while your team is making all the action. And we can see K1 on the bottom, as you mentioned, Midas is already done. I'm not sure if he got the first multicast off or not. If not,
bottom tower is under attack.
sad story indeed. Press F to pay respect.
Yeah, might want to take it back and get a new one, if that's the case. Make sure it's working properly. Top lane, Samel. Samel kind of getting soloed here by Whisper.
Pick it up. Oh, what a play.
Samel, he lays down the arena, but he's gone. And they're going to look to dive for Saxa as well. Stinger, it's going to be an easy shackle shot laid up here. TPs are coming in. Can Thompson do anything to stop Saxa from going down? He can. Saxa able to live. No-Tail jumps in with a perfect angle there. Two-man burrow strike. Sets up onto Stinger and Whisper. A quick toss forward onto Thompson. He closed the gap on Whisper. Whisper will blast him back. He's still alive somehow. And in from the side, Misha, he's looking for the snipe with the ultimate. Will be able to find Whisper. Now turns his attention over towards the slow onto K1 and Schofield. It's double kill for Misha. OG, they're ready for more.
So good.
Cookie forward onto Saxa. Misha with another setup.
Misha actually managed to land Mortimer's kisses on every single hero, then lands a Fire Snap Cookie plus a Scatter Blast, and suddenly OG's back on track. Thompson needs to be careful, Shackle connect.
Thompson with a little bit of a cheeky feed there.
But all gold spent. Witchblade is done. There's too much to talk about, Owen. Keeper of the Light, you've seen him being played as position 5, as a position 4, mid, and now he's the offlane, has a full Spirit Vessel. Saxa, can he TP out? Charge? Ooh. No.
Oh my goodness, he's a little close. See Schofield. I hope he doesn't cancel this charge. I want him to see him go all the way to the fountain. Let's go. Here we go. Oh, he's going to intervene here for the courier. Nice move here from Schofield. He's going to try and go head-to-head with Misha. Misha's got a couple of levels on him. And unless he gets a lot of bashes, I don't think he's going to win this one, Schofield. Especially not if Misha has friends coming in, and he certainly does. Saxa coming over from the side. Schofield, he got the courier, and it will cost him his life.
Yeah, Misha is just styling. I like what he's doing. He uses one auto attack and then does a 360 or 180, then attacks him again.
Radiant's courier has been killed.
Oh, he's certainly vibing right now, Misha. Samel. Catch onto Chris Luck.
Chris Luck's AFK.
Oh, hey, it's working. The AFK play it might buy him enough time as he gets into the mind of OG. He goes for the approach of if I stand still, if I don't see them, maybe they don't see me, but they do. He's dead. It's a good attempt from Chris, but he's out of the game. He's nearly got his armlet done. A couple hundred gold off that one. Top lane, jump onto Whisper.
This strategy only works if Bear attacks you. And remember, you only need to be faster than your friends when Bear attacks you. That's the only thing. Like, you don't have to be, you know, the fastest one, and you just need to be faster than one.
That's true.
Yeah, no towers taken so far.
They don't end up being your friends anymore, though, if you do.
Yeah, you're just minus one friend. Well, maybe, you know what, I got a theory. Just listen, because I believe Misha or Mishka in Russian means little bear, so he tried to go for that. I might be wrong, but this time I think I'm correct.
I'm going to trust your translation skills. I am. I'm going to trust them.
We might be lost in translation, but I believe I'm correct. Saxa has a toss available. Let's see if he decides to toss Thompson in. Thompson.
Oh, look at this. Chris up with the bait. He's
there
trying to bait them. Oh, Thompson. Oh, this shackle. He's got the shackle on the two of them. Chris Luck goes for the grab back, but no tail. He was waiting on the side. With the epicenter, in he goes. Chris Luck's gone. Quick jump out with the burrow strike once again. They're going to have K1 up in a minute. How's K1's farm doing? He's trying to get this hood online after Midas. He's not having any of this top fight. He's straight over to mid. He knows he's the carry. He's got to keep hitting the creep. But this dive at the tier 2 is continuing as they go in onto Whisper. The Coddle's gone. Maybe Beastcoast can get some kills and return it. Jump forward with the ultimate on towards Saxa. That's going to be Samel going down. Thompson goes back in with a blast off. So he'll deny himself. There's still at least a bit of a kickback there from Beastcoast. As they will get
K1 just ruined my joke by getting one extra
done?
kill. You know, I wanted to say K1, D6, A1. You know, that's his score at the moment, but he managed to ruin it. That was not fast enough, Owen.
It's all right. Maybe he'll rebrand as K2 in the future, you know.
Could be it.
Oh, here's the Midas. Oh, lovely. Lovely little double multicast there. Gets him the goal, going for the Ether Lens next. I mean, the high ground defense from Beastcoast is going to be strong. They sit on the high ground, chuck those ignites, and they'll be able to keep the game going for a long time.
Yo, what about techies? Like, both teams actually have a very sick high ground defense of this game, might add. And that's why Beastcoast, they got 2 Meteor Hammers. There's going to be Meteor Shower, Shackle.
There we have it. Oh, enough damage though. Samael. Arena's down. Stinger. No escape for him. In they go, the Beastcoast, they want to fight now. They know there's no ult. They're going to take out Saxa. Chris Luck's going to be wanting to charge on for more. He's got an Arcane Rune going as well. So these Rifts and Chaos Bolts are going to be coming very thick and fast. See if Chris Luck can close the gap onto Samael.
Middle tower is under attack.
He's got a... No, he has it with the phase boots up Samael. Oh, maybe with the charge. No, they're going to keep this dive going. They're not going to slow this one down. Oh, the spear will. I mean, Whisper still wants to go for this.
This game kind of reminds me, you know, of 90s action movies. It's like watching Steven Seagal against Chuck Norris. No one wants to back down. Like, no one goes back.
I didn't watch those, but what movie's that? Harry Potter?
Yeah, that's Harry Potter where, you know... Never mind. No tail.
Chuck Norris. What character would he play?
Something that's unkillable. Probably Raid King. Like, he can't die. Or Undying. I think it would be more suitable.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Thompson in the trees. What's he going for? The Orchid after the Witchblade. I like it. Bit of silence, bit of magical damage. Chris Luck popping the ult.
I got a feeling they got too much gold for 15 minutes in. Everyone's super farmed.
Actually, like, yeah, we're seeing some pretty insane net worth, I've got to say. Oh, okay, Misha doesn't want any of that. I mean, I love this from Beastcoast. They are up 28 to 15 OG, but Beastcoast, they're only 2k down. And honestly, it really goes to show that kills mean nothing. I think that this game's as close as ever. Though that 13 kill advantage, it's irrelevant. If we get some lucky multicast from K1's Midas, he's going to be back in the game. It's K1. Talking about the man himself here. He's dead. Thompson. He's going to be able to jump in and take Whispered out as well.
Oh, K1 gets the kill. 500 gold with the Ignite.
Schofield's going in. Straight over towards Notel, charging in deep, but Notel returns with the Burrow Strike. Samael has arrived, and with the arena good to go, Schofield and Chris Luck have got to be careful, but they can't escape. The arena's down. Samael has trapped the two of them. As Chris Luck and Schofield will both lose their lives. Good toss back from Saxa, gets Stinger back in range of the Burrow Strike of Notel. Body blocks as well, leaving no escape for Stinger. Samael claims a second.
That's a full team wipe. Saxa, he's just not using the combo to try to kill one hero. Every single time he uses Toss on one hero, then uses Avalanche on both of these targets. Very impressive, I gotta say.
This is, I mean, K1, he wants to get Misha.
Radiant's top tower.
He's got Whisper on his way. Saxa's in with the combo. K1, he doesn't care. He's going to keep pummeling into them here with his big old club. Turns over to Saxa. A good old ear from Beastcoasters. It's going to be K1 having the pipe complete. It's going to be pretty big for Beastcoast with the amount of brawling that's going on.
Yeah, that's exactly what you need in this type of a game. You need a mech, you need a pipe to be able to just sustain the damage. There's some serious amount of magical damage coming out from OG. And also, I can't believe Misha left Team Secret for this, like just to play the show match.
True. It is, you know, commitment here to the fans, making sure he's able to turn up and entertain. As a charge over, Thompson. They've got the damage, they do with the block. That's Thompson down again. Beastcoast fighting fantastically around K1's Ogre Magi. And now OG's kind of struggling to find the avenues to get in the way that they were before. The net worth's back to even. K1, you can see him, he's even ready to start diving the towers up top. TP over from Saxa, charging from Schofield. Straight over towards Samael on the back lines. The arena's going to go down. It's only caught Schofield. Notel comes in with the epicenter, jumps up towards K1. Got the toss up. K1, he's tanky with the pipe, not tanky enough. They are able to bring him down. As OG will chase back Beastcoast. See if they can get another jump here. Oh, Stinger! A little too close. Now with the jump over towards Whisper. OG. See if they can finish Whisper. Not quite. Good look. Good use here with the bounce back. And Chris Luck. Oh, that's a little ambitious. He turned up about 3 deaths too late to the team fight there. There wasn't anyone else to back him up there.
This might be the game with the most kills that we've ever had in the, let's call this a professional e-gamers match.
E-gamers, yeah.
Yeah, they're professional e-athletes, Owen.
Yes.
Radiant's middle tower
Yes,
is
indeed.
under attack.
Well, here we have mid lane. We're going to see some more of your e-sportsmen coming on the mid lane. K1.
Radiant's top tower is under
I mean,
attack.
he feels invincible. He's just rolling up. He doesn't care what happens or what they do. He's ready to fight. He's ready to brawl. Schofield got the control on tops, and they're really trying to kill this techies. And will they get him? The multicast wasn't able to blast. Doesn't matter. Great hit here from Stinger. Lovely line down the mid line with a power shot. And we'll lose Schofield and K1 for it. Stinger, he should be able to get out of this. Chris Luck still watching from the side. No Tails jumping in. He's looking for the CK, and he's found Chris Luck will have Phantasm good to go in a couple of seconds.
I gotta say, I feel bad for whoever is observing this game, because probably people are
It's a hard
spamming
one.
T-tours all the time. Sumail with the
Also,
pause. They
Sumail.
need to discuss the tactics.
They do.
See what's the next plan. Do they go Roche? Also, I don't think techies like these kind of games where everything is chaotic, so he does not have enough time to plant the mines. Also, look at his build. He does not
I
have
like
a
it.
single point status trap, just stats.
That's yeah. I mean, he's
It
getting
it
Witchblade
makes
and
a lot of
Orchid.
synergy. Yeah, you more damage from Witchblade. I
Yeah.
know. Owen, we think alike.
There we have it. I mean, Duke, how much maths is that? Number.
Number-wise, he has 3 extra in attributes.
Radiant's
Yeah,
turret
so
has been killed.
that translates to about
0.75
7.5 of 3 is
0.75 out of 4 is 3, all right. And
3.
then we have 1.1, and let's say 4. No, never mind.
No.
Let's just keep it that way.
Let's just assume that the professional did the maths. He did the maths. This is
probably
why he's a pro
tested that out.
gamer. He went
in
to Harvard,
public
he
games.
went to Yale, he studied maths for 10 years, and now he's here playing techies in a show match. Thompson with the big brain moves here. Put your points into stats, ladies and gentlemen. if
All
you're
right,
playing techies.
now we can do the math, right? He has 4 points plus 2 attributes times 4.
Yes.
So yeah, it's much easier to do it right
Oh,
now.
we're doing multiplication now.
No.
Oh, I thought, calm yourself down, Lacoste.
We're doing the counting with the multicast and everything. We need to tone it down a bit.
Okay, one.
Silence.
Goodbye, K1.
I didn't mean you to shut up when I said
Oh.
silence. I meant there's a silence on the
Silence?
ogre, yeah.
Oh, here we go, kisses. It's time for the kisses to come in, but Chris Luck don't care. He's actually able to bring down No Tail. Thompson with the DD rune, very terrifying. Techies with the DD, and they'll respect it, Beastcoast. They're not going to head up to the high ground. 2 down on OG. Sorry, 1 down on OG, 2 down on Beastcoast. We're seeing on Whisper's build, trying to get that, want to see Shadow Amulets. We're going to get it. We're going to get Shadow Blade. Sorry, that's for Saxon. Saxon, not Shadow Blade. I was going to say, we're not going to Shadow Blade and keep up the light. We've got Blink Dagger coming up for Whisper, so we can get those angles
Are fortified.
to bounce the players around, line up those big blasts. Make sure the damage is done. OG are doubling the kills of Beastcoast.
Radiant's middle
but
tower has fallen.
you know, as we're talking about doubling, it can happen the way of Beastcoast as well. Chris Luck,
We can do the math right now. 21 and 42, 21 minutes in. That's 3 kills per minute exactly, Owen.
Dire's
We're on
top
fire.
tower Has been
Yeah.
denied.
this is exactly what I hope to
Dire's
see here.
structures are fortified.
What we get next here from Chris Luck? Wait, what's this? The old armlet into Octarine build. Fan of this one. Those cooldowns are everything, and mana for days. You know, people said CK had a mana problem. Well, just build an Octarine.
There you go.
Yeah, problem
These
solved.
professional gamers, they're very smart. You know, that's why they managed to beat open AI, because they think like bots as well. I mean, this is bot thinking. Ether Lens Armlet, the classic CK build.
Interesting to see where he heads after the Octarine.
La verdad que no me merece.
It's hard to tell. Talking about innovation, Thompson will be getting the Moon Shard next after the Orchid and Witchblade. That extra benefit, the higher stats, higher right click even more.
For people who are just tuning in, this is not a serious match. This is not for TI.
I mean, this is
a
TI
show match.
finals, Lacoste.
This is
game
show match.
5.
So whatever you see here, don't use it as an excuse. I saw OG doing it, so I'm gonna do it in my own pubs at high, high level pubs, high MMR. Don't try to copy this. It will not end up well. You're probably gonna get 9 reports anyway.
Who do you think, if you were looking at all the builds of all the players right now, who's getting the least reports? Who's actually playing the serious
Sanking.
Dota?
No Tails playing like the classic offlane Sanking. Blink Dagger, possibly boost of travel, Yules to dispel dusts, and have a Blink Dagger on top of that.
Who's getting the most reports?
CK, without a
CK.
doubt.
Yeah.
CK eats the lens like it just stings into my eye.
Oh boy. I mean, credit to Chris Luck, he's not been doing that bad on the game so far. Sure had a few deaths early, but he's been getting involved. And there's a few hundred gold, and the Octarine's going to be finished. And we've got things going for Schofield. Schofield also going to go for the Echo Saber hit. They're going to get the jump on him. Schofield, he needs some help, and he needs it now. The Yule set up. Samel is going to lay down the arena just for Schofield. This might give a chance for Beastcoast to get back in on this. K1 ignites out over to the side. They've found Saxa, and Stinger set up into the Meteor Hammer, comes crashing down onto Saxa. They'll take down Tiny. OG still wanting to go for this, but Beastcoast are smoked up and are ready to try and set up to jump again. No Tail, Epicenter revving up for the sidelines, but the power shot comes in, stops No Tail's chance of blinking in. Does mean that he is able to blink out despite being dragged back by the rift of Chris Luck. No Tail escapes, Beastcoast still on the chase. Whisper, keeping the slows going onto Samael. Angles there for the shackle shot. K1, ignite the fire blast. Samael's looking pretty dead. Misha, he is going to look to try and help out with the Mortimer's Kisses, but Samael just getting completely controlled here. K1 is back in. Samael will push back K1.
No multi.
Samael goes down.
K1 not really lucky with a multicast. I like the strategy that they got. Schofield is always charging a target, and then they have Ignite running on him, Whisper with the Illuminate, Shackles, and also the snipe from the Wind Ranger coming out. I love this build on Techies, I gotta say.
Thompson. What about the man? Is in a little bother
great
here.
angle.
Very nice here, the bounce back from the ult into the shackle shot. And with the backline wraparound, Chris Luck's been able to take down Misha. 3 dead on OG. No Tail and Saxa trying to escape, but Saxa's been found. 4 dead, No Tail. Ew, he's out in the trees. TP's out, they get the drag back with the rift, but nothing quite there in time to put a stop to his TP, but a big fight there for Beastcoast. All dead on OG.
Team wipe, yeah, and now they're gonna get their 1, 2, 3rd tower. Actually, not too bad. I had a joke when what do you call techies who gets all these strength items, becomes almost unkillable? You call them tankies. There you go.
Excellent. Anyway, to talk about maths. Look at this. So look, we've got a point to this. This cooldown on the Chaos Bolt for Chris Luck with the talent and the Octarine. He's throwing out stuns. He's throwing out stuns every 5.3 seconds. And if he's getting the maximum stun of 4 seconds, I mean, you could do the maths on sort of the uptime of stun time, and it's pretty stunning.
It really is. I mean, once you get the shard, it's you also get the illusion, so even more chaos in the team fights.
Yep.
Well, I'm taking the back. I said I'm gonna report him. I need to find someone else to report.
Okay, Spirit Breaker just died. There you go.
Spirit Breaker with Meteor Hammer. All right, he's my next target. Because there's no synergy. You can't use the Greater Bash and charge the Meteor Hammer.
True, but you can Meteor Hammer whilst charging, right? What? Right? It's you can, right? You can use items while charging.
I don't think you can. I might be wrong. I did not receive that email. I don't know.
You can drive by Dagon, can't you? Actually, no, you can't. It's channeling. I'm pretty. Yeah, you can't.
I'm pretty sure you can't do it.
I mean, I'll be honest. I've not been buying Meteor Hammer on my Spirit Breaker.
Yeah, because it's not something I read the patch notes. I'm like, you know what? I need to test right now. Meteor Hammer Spirit Breaker. So yeah, that doesn't come to my mind. Stinger, focus fire on Roche.
Oh, Saxa. Trying to look to interrupt this. We've got K1 wrapping around from the high ground. They're on top of Samael. Samael's out of the fight. Quick kill onto the Mars. They're ready to go for more. Dust down to Saxa. No Tail jumps into the epicenter. Burst strike onto the 2 of them, but with the Piper, they're too tanky. They don't care about the damage to the Sand King right now. Saxa goes down. Samael has brought back for this, but he can't get over to help Notel as Notel's completely trapped here. Look at all these illusions from Chris Luck. They're all over the place. Samael, he brought back for this one. Chris Luck's in, ready to take him down. Thompson's jumped in with a blast off. He's going to get blasted back out of the game.
And now they're going to get the Roche.
Yeah.
That's a dieback from Mars. They might just threw the game completely. Once Ogre gets a BKB, he first wanted to go for, you know, the cheeky old Aghanim Scepter, which received a couple of buffs, but then realized, what if I just get a BKB? I have enough mana sustain with the Ether Lens, and I'll be able to cast as many multicast as I want. Now they're gonna get to Roche. Chris Luck, you know, I think we need to apologize to him, especially me, you know, saying that I would report him like this build, like right after what I'm gonna do is play CK, go for this kind of build, and see how many reports I get.
I mean, it's working. It's working, as you say, with the Shard, just these constant illusions coming out each and every Chaos Bolt. Proving to be a little too much for OG to deal with. Top lane, they're on the hunt for Notel in the trees. But, no detection down between the two of them. They won't be able to quite grab him. So, yeah, OG's got to be careful. Another team fight like that, and we could see Beastcoast kind of rolling away with the game. Obviously, OG, they do still have the tops and techies. He can fall back to Spider's build to maybe start mining up the base a little bit.
He's playing for level 25. Daedalus queued up, plus 252 damage. Wasn't it 251?
It was. It got buffed. I'm pretty. It was back in the day. Now it's got buffed.
Yeah, or a few patches, like it was 251.2. Then in the C, it was 251.7, and now we're just wanted to round up a number.
So there's items on the floor here. We've got Titan Sliver for K1. I mean, Whisper's having a great day. Level 23 on this Keeper of the Light. And completely controlling OG in numerous team fights. Notel's out into the trees.
I'm dead.
But they found him.
I loved it. This might be one of the best shards in the game. It's actually the most fun shard. What you can do with it. Gale Force, called the new one from the Wind Ranger. I've seen some sick combos. If any of the teams playing at the TI are listening at the moment, pay attention. Phoenix plus Gale Force, very nice combo.
Phoenix? Why Phoenix?
Yeah,
would you push him away from the egg?
The egg, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that shot's pretty insane.
It took you only 30 seconds now to realize what the combo is. No, it's Gale Force plus Sunray.
Oh, wait, what?
No, I'm not.
You're joking. I don't. You're the smart one here. Right.
No, I'm not.
Oh, no. Saxa. Talking about smart people here. K1. He's got 2 brains, and they're working very well there on the Ogre.
He also has spider legs, which can be multicast, which is very nice. Then you become a centipede. You have centipede legs.
Yeah. Not a... Yeah. No, I won't make that joke. Never mind. We won't reference other forms, other media. Anyway, K1.
Well, finds K1, but the quick fingers.
K1 don't care. BKB popped. Pipe up. I mean, he could have opted to TP out. He's on the Gale Force. Samael can't run. He's trying to run, but it's windy here. Samael struggling with the weather as he's not able to walk away from Beastcoast.
What's that cartoon called? Windy with a chance of meatballs?
Windy? No. Isn't it rainy?
Might be rainy or foggy. I don't know.
Is it foggy? Maybe it's sunny. If we keep listing all the weather conditions, we'll get there eventually. Well, talking about meatballs, Schofield, he has no fear on his Spirit Breaker, just charging in. He's got big ones. As that's the tier 2 gone, they're ready to push him into the base. OG, what do they got for the high ground defense? Saxa, he's trying to jump out for Schofield, but the casts are coming out. Saxa's just gets blown up. They might have to think about some buybacks here, OG. It's Beastcoast. Oh, the Gale Force pushing Misha in range of Chris Luck and the Reality Rip. The combo plays are coming out from Beast Coast, and they're looking to break the base here.
When we first saw the drafts, we thought OG has all the repositioning tools, but we were wrong. Look at the Gale Force plus the Blinding Light from Keeper of the Light. It's actually Beast Coast who has the better combo.
Oh, and Thompson! Oh, the mines for what? I don't really do much at all as Chris Luck and Whisper fight through. There's a second buyback from OG here on the defense, but the damage has been done. K1 just hammering away at the racks. OG are going to try and do their best to keep him off them. As Saxo looks to jump in, but K1 puts the BKB, just beats down on the range racks. See what more they can find out of this.
They got the range barracks. That's okay-ish, not the best one, but they got 2 buybacks, that's what matters.
Oh, that was a nice little attempt there. The Gale Force trying to push Sumail back in line of the blast from the Keeper of the Light. Whisper as over to the side. They're trying to jump Chris Luck. Chris Luck's pretty tanky. Good silence onto No Tail. Phantasm's out from Chris Luck. They're ready to fight back in. The first illusion off to take down No Tail. Then Chris Luck jumps in, brings down Misha. Has to catch on to Thompson. Thompson goes down as well. And that's it.
The GG
is called. And Beast Coast with fantastic innovation. And team fight plays it towards the end as well. They make the comeback. They take the game. We haven't had some pauses on the way out here as they're over the moon here. This was a brilliant show from Beast Coast, Lacoste.
It really was. I gotta say, Stinger's build, I think we're gonna see, during TI, quite a lot of that build. Just get a Meteor Hammer into Shard, possibly Blink Dagger or Octarine Core. And in the end, Techies loses, so at the end of the day, I'm kind of happy. You can see the smile. Everything's right. Everything's in balance.
It is, and a win for the Octarine CK, and it's not a meme, Lacoste. It was actually good.
It was actually good.
Good. It was a key part in the last few team fights, having that lower cooldown with the shard, just illusions everywhere. They couldn't deal with them. K1 spot on with the Midas into the pipe build, just. They had everything going for them there. And I think OG, they felt they were on a roll at the start. They were doubling the kills of Beast Coast pretty much, 20 minutes in. It didn't matter. Beast Coast just with some smart maneuvers.
In Dota, don't matter. There was a saying, MMR is just a number, kills are just a number. Yeah. Apparently, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's called the Defense of the Ancients. Dota 2, who kills the Ancients wins the game, or, if you can force them to click the Alt F4 or drop the G's in the old chat.
Absolutely. You talked about who was getting your report earlier, the cost. Who'd be getting your commends after this one?
Definitely Stinger. Stinger played amazing Wind Ranger. There were some clutch shackles. First 15-20 minutes, Saksa was really dominating on OG. Those tossbacks into multiple man avalanche. And Whisper was pretty insane on Keeper of the Light. I already said Keeper of the Light mid lane might be dead, but this is something that could resurrect him as a hero. Not necessarily a position 4 or 5, but has a lot of potential to be played. Just needs to be paired up with like a brawling type position 4 who can support him and who can just land a stun or slow so that he can have his blast on multiple heroes.
Yeah. I mean, you talked about Whisper, the highest GPM in the game. Out of all 10 players, Whisper's farm completely unparalleled, showing exactly as you say, just how much this hero can do, and indeed the positioning and just sort of the ability for Beast Coast to fight back against a team that was running at the moment. There was always going to be the downside of OG's lineup. Already just having sort of the 3 melee heroes that want to get in and make the jump: Sand King, Mars, and Tiny. They're going to have a tough time against these heroes that are ready to stand their ground and brawl back against the melees.
Problem was that Beast Coast also picked Pudge when OG picked it, because they ruined the combo. They had Pudge plus Techies plus Tiny. Suddenly you're from tier 1 into their tier 3 towers, into the mines. So yeah, unfortunately Pudge banned. Techies still lost at the end of the day, which is something that makes me happy every single time.
Indeed, we can all enjoy the rest of the evening with a smile on our faces. Well, that is it for the best of one, ladies and gentlemen. I wish we were doing more between these two, as it was a whole lot of fun. I hope you all watching enjoyed the Dota, and of course, a big shout out to OG and Beastcoast for coming here and playing a fun game here for the fans. We hope all you fans enjoyed it. Don't go anywhere though. Of course, this is just the beginning of the night, and to tell you more about what's in store, we'll be passing you back to Cap and Sumi.
Thank you very much, OD Pixel and Lacoste, who is very happy and also one of the biggest Techies anti-fans. Thank you so much for a fantastic cast. Cap, that was a game.
It was something.
That
was something,
Dota.
all right. You know, when they were drafting, and it was like, Techies, okay. And Thompson picked it, and I was like, is there swapping in random draft? Can they change players, or is that actually going to be a mid-Techies? It was a mid-Techies, and it wasn't a normal Techies either. He went a right-click build. It was a pretty fun match. I have to say, I enjoyed myself.
We were all like super excited to see the Pudge, and then the Pudge just vanished off the screen. And we're like, oh, well, see ya.
Yeah, a little bit sad that both teams had the same idea in mind, I think, is how that ended up getting banned. But, yeah, I think we actually do have a post-game interview ready to go. I think OG No-Tail's going to be joining us. Hi, No-Tail.
Hey.
Good day.
Hey, No-Tail, I'm going to start off, of course, with the obvious question. What were you guys talking about when you decided mid-Techies was the play for this show match?
I think people actually had a plan to just a team fight and play some spells, heroes, and then when we got into the game, everybody just wanted to play. We weren't sure how the random draft system would be. It was something many of us have played for years. It was the turn. We weren't sure if there was going to be, if it was like a 1-2 move. I think it's like one team picks one, then the other team picks two. I think that's how it still is. But everybody just went ahead and picked the hero that they wanted to play, and then Koch got banned. And yeah.
Now, towards the end of the game, was Thompson like, guys, if we just hold out and I get my level 25, then everything's going to click, right? Because he had all the right-click items, and you've got that 252 damage talent. Was he saying, like, hold, we can do this?
Yeah, we had the 25 in mind, and we're trying to get there, but then we did a lot of whoopsies, and our base was in danger, so we didn't quite get it. We had many cool little 25 talents, but close, but no cigar.
Well, that was still a fantastic game. It was very, very, very entertaining. My question for you is related to OpenAI. So you guys were able to play OpenAI before, right? And that was kind of a long time ago, but now, you know, the team's a little bit different. You guys have more experience under your belts. Do you feel that you would be able to take on OpenAI and crush them?
So I think any pro team or competitive team probably could get there, given a little bit of practice and understanding. If you have OpenAI, have a play style and what they want to do with heroes, it would probably catch everyone off surprise the first time. I still have full faith that if you let a pro team play against it a few games in a row, they'll find a way to reliably break it. Although I don't think you're going to have many pro teams who are going to find a lot of fun in that, and we want to do that in their free time. But I definitely think like that. Scary things it did in the games. Plus, it's very inhuman. It watches everything all the time.
All right, cool. So, final question. Sorry, Cap, I'm totally cutting you off.
Okay, that's totally fine.
So, TI is coming up. Do you have any last words? Anything that you want to say to all of your fans who are cheering for you?
Of course. Much thanks, and happy to have another TI. It's been a long time, and I'm sure everybody is ready to watch the best Dota in the world, and we're just grateful that it's possible, and that this is a thing. And it's all the people watching the game, passion for the game. So I'm taking today to appreciate that, loving that.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this interview, and for a fantastic show match.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
No-Tail's such a sweet
guy,
he's
right?
So
yeah,
great.
I
We're thinking the same thing.
I looked at you, and then our eyes met. I was like, he's thinking the exact same thing.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much again to Beastcoast and OG for a great show match. But that is not all that we have. We have a lot of cool stuff coming up. We have some great interviews. We have some special guests, maybe some secret stuff. But we have the main event coming up, which will be the screening of Artificial Gamer. We will be right back after a short break.
Two kills or a tower, Dendy. That's not hard, right?
Sounds super easy against the bot.
There's this really long history of using games as a benchmark for AI.
The goal was always to solve this very hard game that seemed right at the edge of what might be possible.
What is artificial intelligence? I would define artificial intelligence as trying to get computers to do things that humans are currently better at.
Dota is a fast-paced strategy game, but it's also a team sport.
It's one of the most complex games out there, maybe the most complex game.
When you look at the game of Dota, there is 10,000 plus variables in every moment that your system has to take in.
When we started this project, no one had any idea how we were supposed to solve it.
Usually when you work on machine learning projects, you write a paper and maybe you'll give a talk. This is just a different kind of thing. There's 20,000 people in an arena cheering for or against it.
Your grand champions, it's OG!
And so in about a month, we're gonna play the winners of TI.
I'd say we have at least an 80% chance, but I hope that by the end it'll be closer to 90.
You guys are way ahead of yourself. Come on, let's be realistic for a second. That's not happening.
Welcome back, everybody, to the exclusive screening of Artificial Gamer. I have my popcorn, and I have my list of cool things that we have coming up today. One of the coolest things that we have is we have a special guest appearance by none other than Chad Hershberger, who is the director of Artificial Gamer, and he is also one of the co-founders of Milk House as well. So let's welcome him to the stage.
Chad, come on down.
Welcome.
Hi, guys. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much for coming to be here and sharing with us Artificial Gamer and some cool secret stuff coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's totally awesome to be here. It was a super fun project. I've really enjoyed all the time I've spent around this game, around this community, and so this just felt like the best place to share it with everybody for the first time.
So I think a lot of people don't know how exactly this whole project started up. How did you originally connect with OpenAI?
Well, OpenAI had been filming this footage. I mean, I think they knew from the inception of this project that this was cool, right? This was going to be a really fun thing. And so they had been gathering footage. And then it was around the time of TI-8 that they had gathered a lot of material. And they decided they really wanted to try to make a story out of it. And that was when I had gotten involved. So,
what would you say was your favorite part of making Artificial Gamer?
Honestly, just being able to interact with everybody. I mean, to spend time with the engineers and talk with them, and on the gaming side too. I mean, all the casters, the players that we interviewed. It's just such a great world, I mean, and everybody is so passionate about it. And so, that was something that you always hope happens, and it happens at various levels on different projects, but this was something where it was just literally every person we interacted with was so excited about the project and just had 1,000 great ideas about, oh, well, it would be so cool if we talked about this, and it would be so cool if we talked about that. So definitely the best part was just all of the people that we got to meet and engage with.
So on our side, we work with a lot of gamers, and I found sometimes it's hard to get them to open up, natural introverts in a way. And for you obviously had to talk to both them as well as talent, but you also talked to the OpenAI team. I think a lot of viewers are coming from the Dota side of things, so they may be aware of some of the people they're going to see in the documentary. How was working with the OpenAI team? Were they easy to open up to?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it comes across in the film. They were a fantastic group of people, super smart, super fun, and and that was something that, going into the film I didn't necessarily know, but I found out pretty quickly is that, a lot of them didn't have a lot of experience in artificial intelligence before, and it kind of gave the whole story this extra flair, right? All these people trying to do this really difficult thing, and a lot of them not necessarily with a lot of background in it, you know, and so it made for a great upset story kind of across the board, right?
Yeah, I think that's something that we actually talked about a bit was how important it was that for the story that OpenAI experienced, you know, a bit of a problem when it came to TI-8. They finally brought it to the main stage, and you know that obviously didn't go so well. We'll see.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Gosh.
Maybe not as much with this crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people were able to enjoy OpenAI at the matches versus OpenAI, and for you to be able to take that and put it into a story and put it into a documentary that even people who have watched the matches and became fans of OpenAI will be able to watch and see. They'll be able to see something new and see it through a different lens. You know, they'll be able to interact with the OpenAI. Well, not interact, but they'll be able to see how OpenAI interacted with each other and how they were able to, you know, make this really cool thing happen with Dota. So what do you think the message of your film is with regards to like the side of OpenAI? Because a lot of people get to see Dota, right? But on the other hand, you know, there's an entire team that made OpenAI happen.
You know, I would like people to think about this as a story about what it means to be human and what sort of makes us human, you know, and I think that, you know, obviously from OpenAI's point of view, they're trying to craft something that learns more like humans, and their sort of standpoint being like, you know, humans, we have this amazing capacity to transfer information, right? Like we can have one experience and we learn from that and we apply that to a completely unrelated experience. And that's something that they're trying to figure out how to make AI do better, you know?
Right.
And then, you know, and I think on the flip side of that, I think there's so much of Dota that is just an example of what is great about being humans. I mean, not just the strategy and the game and the thought process that goes into that, but really like the fans, the community, just all of the passion and the energy that goes into something like TI, you know, like I look at that and I feel like that is a fine example of why we all enjoy being on this planet.
So before this project, did you have much experience with esports?
No, I actually didn't. I mean, I consider myself a lover of video games. I've played a lot of console games, but no, this Dota was entirely new to me. The first time I really like saw footage of TI, I think I had to collect my jaw off the floor.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, right?
It is. It really is. It truly is.
So, do you have any final thoughts about that you want to share with the crowd before Artificial Gamer airs? And you know, we wanted to introduce the film, but we think that honor belongs to you.
Oh well, thank you. I am so excited to finally be sharing this with everybody. It's been a long journey. I want to take an opportunity to thank everybody that's been a part of this. I mean, the engineers at OpenAI, all of the players and the casters and the subject experts that participated in the film, my colleagues at Milkhouse, the producers of the film. I mean, a project like this is not the work of one person. It's a collaborative effort, and so many people have put in so many great pieces to this project, and I'm just so happy that we're all here to see it now.
Cool.
All right.
Go ahead and introduce the film. This is your
all
fantastic
right. Well,
work.
thank you, everybody, and super excited for you to see Artificial Gamer.
tomorrow's the last day of the International. There are still matches coming up today. Between the last matches, we have the costume competition, and now we have a little bit of a special treat before we get into that lower bracket match.
A special treat indeed, Sean. It's time for a battle like no other. You've had 5 players in these booths, 5 versus 5. How about we do 1 versus 1 like you've never seen before? It is my absolute pleasure, and please raise the decibel levels, raise the roof as we introduce your first champion. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Dendies! But now he needs an opponent for this 1v1. Who will stand the test of Dendi on this main stage? Strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen, because it's time to meet Dendi's opponent. What? Oh, man. It really doesn't make sense. Dendi, can you comprehend the idea of a bot being better than you?
Come on, it's just a
He's
bot.
in game. It's just a bot. I am joined. Let's get the introductions out of the way. I'm joined by 2 guys from OpenAI, a 10-man team who have been working on this. We have Greg and Jakub. Does Dendi have a chance versus your AI?
There's always a chance.
Okay. We'll be talking more about how on earth this has come to be, but first, I want to get this first game underway. 2 kills or a tower, Dendi? That's not hard, right?
Sounds super easy against the bot, right? Scary. He's dominating.
Are you scared of a bot here? Oh! Did it just fake him out?
It definitely does that.
Sneaky bot.
He's going in.
I'm dead.
Oh! First to 2 kills.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Oh, no, no, no! Oh! The hands are shaking. Dendi, are you giving up?
Yep. He's too strong.
Guys, let's give a round of applause. OpenAI have beaten the world's best Dota players with this machine.
So let me tell you the next step in the project. Next step in the project is 5v5. So just wait for next year's International.
Now we'll see how that one's going to go down. One more time, OpenAI, Dendi, and a 1v1.
No, not artificial intelligence. Nope. If we really... I remember when I read Alan Turing's 1950 paper on the Turing test. He said that imagine if we could have a machine that would not be programmed with a solution that we really understand, but it would learn its own solution. And the idea that you could actually have a machine that would be able to solve problems that I couldn't understand, that became the thing that I wanted to work on.
I always wanted to work on AI and push the limits of what computers can do. Around the release of AlphaGo, I realized that deep learning is actually a technology that might go very far.
Before coming to OpenAI, I was building large distributed data processing systems. And before that, I was working as a data scientist. And before that, I was working in finance, actually, at Morgan Stanley. So been a sort of circuitous route coming here.
I was actually a mobile developer working on iPhone apps. And I wanted to work on something new and exciting. I want to feel like I'm working in the Wild West.
In school, I actually did a PhD in theoretical particle physics. And then I moved to software engineering. And then I felt like I wanted to go a little more towards research, so I came here to do AI research.
Before I joined OpenAI, I was making a living out of playing poker professionally. I played games professionally, made a living out of winning programming contests. OpenAI is my first real job.
AI is everywhere around us. Almost every tech platform that we use today uses some kind of artificial intelligence. Netflix uses AI. Same thing with YouTube. Siri, Alexa, all voice assistants. Google and Facebook also use AI.
For starters, we should talk about what artificial intelligence is. There's this big question in the field about what is artificial intelligence. I would define artificial intelligence as trying to get computers to do things that humans are currently better at. Things like image recognition, natural language processing, these are areas where humans are far better than computers.
Almost everything that we currently understand to be artificial intelligence is a very small subdivision of the field called machine learning. A classic example is cat versus dog photos. So you can show the computer tons of cat photos and say, like, these are cats, and then show them a ton of dog photos and say, these are dogs. And then the computer uses statistics to figure out, okay, when the pixels are this way, I now know that this must be a cat. And when the pixels are the other way, it must be a dog.
We open our phone, it's face recognition. That's machine learning. Our mail gets sorted with visual recognition powered by machine learning. But these are examples of machine learning pattern recognition. And there's this whole other kind of machine learning where it's not just about pattern recognition, it's about learning to achieve goals. For example, learning to win a game.
Oh, this is it. Right.
There's this really long history of using games as a benchmark for AI. The reason for it is very simple. At the end of the day, AI progress is really driven by having hard problems to solve.
I don't really know how to play chess, but I know the rules. And it's enough for me to know the rules, to write a program that can play chess, and if I can play chess better, then I can play it. And that to me is just so fascinating that I can write a piece of code that then outsmarts me. And I think, of course, chess is exciting, but that opens up many opportunities for, well, what else can we write code for that then all of a sudden can solve the problem better than we can?
Deep Blue beat the world champion back in the 90s. AlphaGo pushed the limits of AI to a point where they'd never been before. It is possible to beat humans just with plain old planning and just tree search, which is basically all the possibilities, okay, and then all the possibilities there, okay, and then all the possibilities there, and you just find the best path.
For a game like chess, people usually measure what's called the branching factor, which is at each turn, how many moves are there that are valid? And in chess, the number works out to something like a couple dozen, maybe 10 or 20 or 30, something around there. For something like Dota, the number starts to look more like 1,000, 10,000. And what it really means is that the neural network can't be looking through all of the possibilities. Instead, the neural network has to have something that looks a lot more like human intuition. It looks at the state of the world and it just figures out what to do from there.
Whoever wants to.
A good part of my research is on solving imperfect information games. It's not really about the recreational games themselves. It's about building techniques that can deal with imperfect information, deception, and so on. What I should do depends on what the other players do, and vice versa. They know things that I don't know, and I know things that they don't know.
Working on poker AIs, for example, it's not about developing an AI that can play poker. It's about situations that involve hidden information. Hidden information is ubiquitous in the real world. You see it in negotiations, you see it even in self-driving cars. You might not see the car in front of you or know what the goal is of the car next to you if they're trying to merge into your lane or not.
AI is in this place right now where we have all these really cool tools, and it's great at solving these small baby environments, Atari games like Pong and Pac-Man. And so we're trying to see how much our current tools can do on things where you have real-time actions to make choices quickly with imperfect information. All these things that bring it closer to what you might think an AI interacting in the real world would have to deal with.
Dota is a competitive, team-based video game where you have two teams with 5 aside. You both have a base that you're defending. Dota stands for Defense of the Ancients. You both have an ancient, and the aim of the game is to destroy the enemy's ancient.
Dota, the way I like to put it, is a mixture between chess and basketball. It's a fast-paced strategy game, but it's also a team sport.
Dota is super hard to learn and even harder to master. It's one of the most complex games out there, maybe the most complex game.
It's a square map. The ancients are in the bottom left corner and the top right corner. You have a lane straight down the middle, 2 lanes that go across the edge of the square. The map is always the same. There's one map in Dota 2. It sounds boring, but it isn't, because there's a lot of other variables.
There are almost 120 different heroes, each with unique abilities. Every game is unique. Every game has different strategies being implemented. There are all kinds of different movements that you have to make in a split second. You have to react fast. You have to understand how to communicate and work with your team.
And of course, whilst the game's going on, your heroes, they level up, they gain new abilities, the abilities get stronger, you gain gold that you use to buy items, which improve your abilities.
It's a constant ball of micro decisions that are made like at every step of the game, and those decisions are made not by one person but by 10 people. Every decision has an impact, and a large portion of that is assumptions.
When the game starts, you don't see half the map, and that goes for both teams. We have a high ground and a low ground. If you have a high ground and you're looking down, you can look at a guy who can't look back at you. There's also a day and night cycle in Dota. And certain heroes have different vision during day and night. Very complex system that just keeps adding more and more layers.
I mean, I'm sitting here, it's been 10 years of me like dedicating my life to the game and really pushing it as hard as I can. And I'm still learning on a daily basis, like truly learning about the game, the mechanics, all of it.
But once you do start learning the game, you realize how beautifully complex the game is and how many opportunities there are to be able to create your own story within the game, to show your own style, show your own personality in a way.
So when I first played OpenAI, I was a little bit shocked, I would say, in a way. He would use any small advantage that he would get on you. He will not lose it. Like a human can miss some advantage parts in special microseconds, but bot will not.
1v1 mid-match is very mechanical. There are a lot of fine-tuned tactics, but an AI, of course, with its perfect reaction timings, would do very well in that matchup. 5-on-5, that's a lot different.
The goal was always to solve this very hard game that seemed kind of like right at the edge of what might be possible. Maybe it's a little impossible, or it would take a little while to get it to work. And so the goal was always 5v5. Greg kind of like laid down the gauntlet a little at the end, where he was like, we'll see you next year. Like, we'll be back with 5v5 next year.
No one from the team knew it's going to happen, so when we heard that, everyone was looking at each other like, we were screwed.
Yeah, so no idea. And we're all in the back being like, oh boy, we haven't really thought about it.
It's way more complicated problem. My thought was that this is very ambitious.
It was definitely bold. I definitely thought it was too much. I didn't think we'd have anything to present within a year.
I've been playing Dota for more than half my life now, and the game is so complex. There's so many nuances and possible strategies, possible things you can do.
No matter how perfect their reaction timing would be, I couldn't see how they could actually take on a group of 5 players. That seems something that is, okay, maybe a few years down the line.
I mean, you guys are way ahead of yourselves. Like, come on, like, you know, just let's be realistic for a second. That's not happening.
Each hero's advantage is given by that guy's reward plus V2 minus 2, whatever it is. And your combined value function went from V1 to V2.
What OpenAI 5 is this massive reinforcement learning project. Reinforcement learning is basically just trial and error and really good memory. Can you imagine yourself if you were trying to navigate San Francisco and you were driving and every day you're like, man, 5 o'clock, it gets really bad around this time, I should not be driving, and you'd remember that. And that's basically what the bot is doing.
We give it 2 broad types of things. First of all, the game is designed to be played by humans, and so we have to translate that into an array of numbers. the units' health and their positions and which way they're facing and what abilities they have. And then there's a second half of that, which is all the actions you can take are designed to be played by a human. When you click over here, you enter this keyboard. And we again have to translate those into numbers the model can produce. Because neural networks just take a bunch of numbers and produce another bunch of numbers.
When you look at a game of Dota, even if you've never played before, you see trees, you see heroes, you see creeps, there are towers that hit things. I mean, the bot doesn't know any of that, right? Like, it cannot differentiate between a tower and a creep and a hero. Like, it's all just some random number to it. It's completely blind in some sense.
What's interesting about the AI is it learns in a very different way than humans. Like, a human can go from having zero knowledge about the game to decent with just reading things or watching things or trying to replicate what you see other people do. The bot doesn't really get exposed to any of that, so at first it just seems like they're moving around kind of randomly. They don't make good decisions because they don't have anything to replicate off of.
Keep in mind that when humans learn to play these games, we have like all these things we already know about the world, like all these things about like how space and time works, what it means to be to the left of something, right? Our agent needs to understand all of those elemental concepts from scratch.
Reinforcement learning is this idea that you can kind of reward good behavior over time, and the AI can become better at performing that good behavior.
Imagine you're training a pet and you want him to like learn to sit or do some other tricks. You're not gonna go literally move every single muscle on your dog. You tell him to sit, and then if he kind of moves in a vaguely city direction, you give him a treat. Over time, it learns that when you say sit, it should drop its butt or it should put its paws in a particular way. And it figures kind of all this out, trying to optimize for like that reward that you're giving it.
And so, for example, they get some gold and they get a reward and they're like, oh, that was great, let me try and get more gold. Or they do some damage and they get a reward. And so this kind of like leads them towards the ultimate goal of winning the game.
But there's always the danger that if there's too many things to randomly explore through trial and error, you just might take forever and not really seeing anything.
For example, you give it like a very, very narrow bridge, and then there's like a goal at the end of it. It will just like keep falling all the time if it's like walking randomly on this bridge, right? Just going to learn like, oh, every time I go to this bridge, I fall off and die. If you vary the length of this bridge now, that's a different story. Sometimes the bridge is going to be small, and sometimes the agent is gonna have 10% chance to just random walk till I get to the end. And it's gonna be like, oh, gold, like I should try it. Dota is a very complicated game. There's lots of features, lots of things you can do that aren't core to the game, but they're actually important to the strategy. So like any big software engineering project, we started with the smallest bit that would work. We'll take out some of the items that are more confusing, take out the Roshan monster in the middle of the map, take out all the heroes except for 5 of them, so just have a fixed set of 5 heroes that play against each other. And we started with that. And then we, over time, sort of gradually add this bit back in, add that bit back in.
All the subtlety of the game, as seen by humans, happens when you add those features in. I think similar to how you wouldn't want to play Go on a minified board, you want to play the real Go game. We want to know that we can actually fulfill the real challenge. The benchmark event was this interesting chance to play against a bunch of players that had not played together as a team, but who were each known for having been either former professional, semi-professional, or really strong casters. And we would be playing full games of Dota in front of Twitch and a live audience and a bunch of players that know a lot about the game and could point out obvious flaws.
I remember I was pretty nervous because I didn't want to lose. There was a good amount of people there, and they're all hoping you win. I mean, I'd hope they thought we'd win, because I felt like we were the underdogs going in.
Hey, Brooke, when do you need to know if we're taking first pick or all that jazz by?
As soon as possible.
Because we would like to see, hi Chrissy, we would like to see the bot play the audience game 1. Can we tell you after that?
You're not watching that game.
We're not watching that game?
No.
Why not?
Because then you'll know what to do.
That's the entire point.
We are getting ready for the first of 3 games of excitement between these two teams, OpenAI and, of course, the humans. It looks like we do actually have the draft beginning. As a bit of an update, the OpenAI will pick heroes in response regarding what the humans are picking.
The benchmark event was also a chance for us to show what drafting looked like.
Just before the benchmark, we had increased from just 5 to a pool of 18 heroes at that point.
The richness of the game that you see in professional play is this kind of rock, paper, scissors, or this clever adjoining of like different characters.
Before every game, teams take turn to pick and ban heroes from the hero pool. That's an incredibly important part of the game because certain heroes will be very, very strong alongside another hero and also obviously very strong against a certain hero.
The humans are opening with an Earthshaker. OpenAI has been picking that a lot today in terms of all the drafts that I've seen.
Someone else on our team had the idea to use the model's perception of whether or not it was going to win a game on the first minute to decide whether or not a team was good.
And look at that. The percentage has just gone up in milliseconds, 80, 90, 95.
He changed his mind 3 times in a fraction of a second.
That's
He's like,
a lot of confidence from OpenAI, but here we go. This is going to be fun indeed.
Crystal Maiden is in trouble.
Oh, another dive in, another hex, and another kill. Second one there for OpenAI on this top lane. Fog gets the Fisher out. He does get healed up. We're going to see the rest of the team continue to try and fight. Blitz turns for the raises. The Assassinate coming through with the blast. The bounces, it's enough. That's going to be the SF gone. The humans, they're already down 2 heroes here. Boom trying to get to the center, but he still has the Reaper side available. Lays it down as Lich will get the kill, but he still ends up falling. So OpenAI will come out on top, but a very, very close team fight there between the 2 sides.
What about the win probability?
I was going to say, have they sort of lost their confidence? No, it's actually gone up. Yes. All right, we're struggling a little bit. We're going to win 98% chance. Bogged, he's getting trapped in there. OpenAI trapping the humans, taking down 3 of them.
I think it was halfway through the first game and we were winning. It was almost like magical. It was like, this thing, it's working, you know? These guys were really, really good and we were beating them.
It's a 5K advantage, 24-4 now.
They've managed to find Malini. Fog desperately wanting this sniper, but OpenAI, they juke him out. Turn around, he's ready to turn and punch back. As Fog Willful can't get the Fisher out. OpenAI laughs in his face.
Wave is dead, so they're going to have to take the tower.
Fog tries to but instant hex! He instantly gets hex there. By the line, he will get the Echo Slam out. As 4 dead, they'll look for the 5th as OpenAI wipe them. GG will be called 21 minutes in. OpenAI will take game 1.
I fucked up once. Really bad on that.
The speed at which OpenAI plays that is just so quick. Normally in Dota, we almost have like a reset time. Like once one action occurs, there's like a period where you have some time, at least a little bit to think. But OpenAI it continuously assails you.
When we first started thinking about show matches, we were trying to figure out ways in which we could make it more obvious what the bot was thinking. We started to make it more public what they thought their win probability was, because that just seemed like the most straightforward way of like, do you feel like you're winning right now? Are things going well or are things going poorly? It became this thing that sort of seemed like it was taunting the humans, even though we were really just trying to surface the information about how the bots were playing.
Game 2 of OpenAI versus Team Human here at this benchmark. As we see Blitz there trying to match OpenAI with their level of all chatting.
What is it actually, though?
We can actually check the real stats.
Oh,
and it's just a 92. It's a
this is
little
better.
conservative, holding back a little bit.
This is 3% better than it was last game. All right, can they initiate the right way? Oh, this is really bad for Sniper here. Is he blocked in?
Oh.
This is a dead hero. Wow.
Blitz. First blood there thanks to Moon Meander's setup with the Fisher. Hang on. Oh, jumps in the Echo. Moon, the combo, the slam, the 2. They got them there. Team Human. The OpenAI dropping the 99% now upon Team Human. There's the jump, they'll try. Have they got enough damage though between the 2 of them? They have, and that's going to be the Shaker gone. Blitz taken down as well. Everybody on OpenAI survives. OpenAI take 4 once again. GG is called, and game 2 will also go to OpenAI.
It was kind of stunning because we lost so fast. Everyone was murmuring, and I'm assuming they were talking shit about how badly we got stomped. I would. I'd laugh at those guys, you know? They just got crushed in 20 minutes. How embarrassing.
I really wanted to come in this one and win, but it was really cool and humbling to actually just get kind of crushed and dominated in the first 2 games. So
I was like really taken aback. Like, this is like really impressive that they managed to actually like
not just make a really good bot, but it owned me really hard.
It was very different from playing against humans, just because of the fact that it felt like they could understand threats or the lack of threats and judge perfectly when to be able to just go and attack you.
It was just fascinating when the AI would do something that a human player would never do. The way they played was very aggressive. It would have a fight that to us would maybe not look like a good fight. Obviously, you win a fight, it doesn't mean you win the game. And the AI was, it would take sometimes bad fights because it knew it was able to achieve something elsewhere or something off the back of it.
It was the weirdest Dota match I've ever played, for sure. I would call it Dota in like the lightest sense. Maybe it's just me protecting my own ego since we got whooped so badly, but the game was very different.
Definitely my first impression was, there's all these restrictions in place, there's a limited hero pool. That didn't really mirror what competitive Dota is. But ultimately, you kind of watch the game and then you realize holy crap, the way they move and the way they're playing, everything they were doing inside the game made sense, and a lot of it had never been seen before. They completely ran over the human team.
I think that we sort of had an idea that the Dota community was interested. They were well aware that we weren't playing real Dota and were very happy to tell us about that. But for the most part, it was pretty positive because we were getting a lot further than people expected us to.
And then we never had time to celebrate because we were still in crunch time for TI. So no time for rest.
I think time is really the enemy here. We have only limited time till TI, right?
Right, it's like approaching every day. Oh, we can have Philip go up to the board and write 32, and everybody's like, oh fuck, Philip, what are you doing? Push TI back, and he's like, no, bring it closer.
When we started this project, no one had any idea how we were supposed to solve it. We just knew that this was an important problem. If we could solve it, it would be a big deal, and that we'd have to do something no one had done before.
Working on deep learning in general is very susceptible to bugs because you are working with systems that are able to take any sort of data and usually make something useful out of it. So even if your data is corrupted or your learning algorithm isn't really, has some bugs, it's still likely that the model will be learning, and it will be hard to tell whether it's learning poorly because the problem is hard or because you have some errors in your pipeline.
The whole team was very excited about this evolutionary strategies algorithm. An algorithm that is simpler than reinforcement learning, but the premise was that hey, you can take this simple code and run it in parallel, run it on many computers, and the sheer scale of things will actually make it produce really good results.
Before, switching to all these alternate approaches, we just wanted to check, just to be sure what happens when you actually, run these algorithms on some significant number of CPUs.
Jakob and Shimon did this really amazing thing of questioning all the conventional wisdom. That I was trying to convince them to work on Dota on this game, and they said, let's try scaling up reinforcement learning.
Initially, Greg was very skeptical, so he actually asked us to make sure that we don't devote more than half the time to that project.
And so we actually sort of hid in a secluded part of the office for a week or two, started working on a distributed learning system we called Rapid to make running these experiments easier and, maybe scale to 10 machines or something.
And, that was the beginning of it.
I think it's actually a really awesome story for how progress happens in this field. There's conventional wisdom, and Jakob and Shimon asked the question of why. Why do we believe that? Has anyone ever tested it? And they just kept pushing and pushing us to larger scale.
And that was pretty much our mindset from the beginning, that we want to take this technology, we want to push it as far as we can. When it breaks, we'll have a problem to work on. It hasn't actually broken. We started out running on just a couple machines with 30 CPUs. Shortly thereafter, we reached 1,000 CPUs, and we actually started getting really good performance. So the scale of our mission grew, and by the time we were using 30,000 CPUs, we can actually tackle best human players in a game of 1v1. We were okay, so maybe if we use 10 times more, we'll actually be able to take on the full game. By the end of the project, we were using 300,000 CPUs and 2,000 of the latest graphic cards.
We need a lot of computers to see a lot of different games. This is essentially what allows us to discover new strategies. So without scale, nothing works, and that's usually not a dimension that you see in other machine learning problems.
The way that we train this system is through a very simple idea called self-play. Imagine if you are trying to learn to play tennis and you play against Serena Williams. You're not going to learn anything, right? Like, you're just going to, no matter what you try, even if it was a good idea, you're just going to lose. And Serena's definitely not going to learn anything from you. And so what's really important is that you have balance, right? That if you played against an exact copy of yourself and you tried things out and you came up with an innovation that was a slightly good idea, you'll actually see that turn into you getting more points. That's exactly how this system works. It plays against copies of itself, and because it's just a computer system, we're able to replicate it many, many times off in the cloud. For our 5v5 bot, we're playing about 180 years worth of Dota gameplay every day.
The origin of Dota really goes back to one individual and eventually a group of individuals' passion project. It was a custom game made inside the Warcraft 3 platform, which was a video game itself made by Blizzard that allowed users to create their own custom mini-games. At that point, esports, I would say, was just kind of starting its very quick upwards trajectory. It was growing at an exponential rate. Live streaming was becoming a huge thing with platforms like YouTube, Twitch TV, and Dota 1 was a small niche custom game inside another competitive video game that had a huge audience of its own. When the International first started, it kind of became to be because Valve, the developer of Dota 2, wanted to make a really big splash with this new big game title.
They brought in this tournament that had a prize pool of $1 million, and back then that was unheard of. People actually thought it was a scam.
The prize pool that players had been competing for at tournaments before the International was a fraction of that. They were competing for $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 at the most, so a $1 million tournament was just game-changing.
It was a huge incentive for a lot of professional players who at the time were playing more for the love of the game. They were in college or high school, and this was what they were doing on the side. And sure, maybe they got a trip to, Sweden. They were going to DreamHack or something. Like, oh, that's really cool, but it wasn't a career. Once that kind of money started coming around, people were able to sit down and look at it and go, okay, I can actually commit full time to being in esports.
TI3, Valve introduced something called the Compendium. It's a mechanic within the game, and it basically gives the community a way to purchase stuff and make this makes the tournament community funded. And since then, it's been continuously breaking the record with its own prize pool and with its own size. I've been blessed enough to have been at every TI since the first one that I went to, which was TI3, and yeah, it just keeps getting bigger, man. It keeps getting bigger and bigger.
And a big thing that changed over the year was adding that element of professionalism structure. So today, you see teams, they have professional coaches, they have training staff, they have a support system around them to help their players compete at the highest level.
All of these players, it's not like they just played their favorite video game, they were pretty good at it, showed up and started winning millions of dollars. No, these are people who very often have a background in traditional sports, who played basketball in high school or were on their football team. And what really drives them the most is competition.
TI today is one of the biggest esports tournaments in the world. It is the most prize money any individual esports competitor can earn on a given day.
It's always going to be a pinnacle of esports. Part of that is the money. You can't get away from the money. It's so much money. It's so much money.
It is a huge celebration of what Dota is and has become. It's about celebrating the game. It's about giving back to the fans, the community, the ones who kind of grew the game to what it is. It features contributions from the community, from all the different people in different areas, commentators, producers, content creators.
There's always seating for around sort of 17,000 people, and always sells out, regardless where it goes around the world. People will travel, the locals will come, and the stadium will be absolutely packed.
Okay, so what should we do? We're still trying to repro, right?
understand what's
So some of us should repro.
I can try doing the necro fight.
Usually when you train a system like this, be it a bot to play a game or like a computer vision system that's like trying to figure out, is that a cat, is that a dog? You figure out your data set for the problem, and then you initialize a model like a neural net with random weights.
He does have that thing. He does have a...
You do this training process. You start with it behaving randomly, trains for a long time, and becomes very good. You're like, great, that was good. You take that, you play against humans, you do whatever you're going to do with it. And then you have some idea of how to make it better. You say, this time we're going to change how this system works. We're going to add this feature. We're going to do something cooler and new. You start from the beginning, the random behavior, totally garbage play, and then it becomes better and better and better, and hopefully by the end it gets even better than your previous one.
At some point we decided, like the scale of this problem is so large and we have so little time that if we were to do the train from scratch process, we think it would take maybe a month to get back to where we are now every single time. And so the approach that we adopted was, instead of training from scratch, we're just going to plan to keep this one experiment. We're going to start it in June. We're going to keep it running all the way through to the contest.
We have our current best bot. We want to make some change that hopefully will make it better, maybe introduce a new part of the game or change something about how the model works. With each of these features, we've added in, we have to do a surgery. I think we coined this word surgery, although I'm not sure. So surgery is the process of taking that existing very good agent and like changing the innards of how it behaves so it can work with the new feature that we've added in. And then we resume training from there with the new feature.
Effectively, the entire model, the brain, everything, every component, it can be distilled down to a bunch of numbers, just rows and rows and rows of numbers. That's all you need to make the bots play. What surgery does is take all these numbers, and when we add an action, effectively it adds another row somewhere, slicing in some numbers that define what the new action would be like.
One of the first tests we do after every surgery is we just watch a game. Sometimes you see it play reasonably, but if you made a mistake, you often see them, they just all walk to the left. The scarier kinds of mistakes are the ones we don't see there, where the surgery itself worked, but for some reason something goes wrong in the training and then it gradually learns to get worse instead of learning to get better.
Between the benchmark and TI, we were trying to really think about what can we accomplish in just a few weeks to really make the biggest impact.
There are all these features of the game that were not there that would affect the rule set. And so our concern was, if we show up at TI and professional teams want to play us, but they spend their time saying how our rule set is not the real Dota, this is not going to play well even if we win.
Switching from 5 couriers to 1 courier had sort of been something that was on the table for a long time. It's definitely one of the weirdest aspects that we sort of added.
A courier is just a guy that, he's like your gopher. He just brings you stuff. In Dota, there's usually 1 courier. And it takes a while for the courier to come back and forth. It's not an instant transfer. It has to go all the way back to your base, come back with its goods. If one person uses it, it means one person can't use it.
The 5 couriers was an act of laziness on our part. When we started with 1v1, you have 1 hero, 1 courier. The obvious way of extending our implementation to handle 5 heroes was just to also have 5 couriers. And it just turned out that we kind of forgot to remove it until very late.
Professional play has a huge part of who gets to get their items first and when and how often. And there's a law of attrition also, that if the human team is not used to receiving items at 5 times or 10 times the speed of a regular game, it's going to favor the computer.
And we still weren't really prepared to have the model fully learn utilization of the courier. And so we wanted to program a logic for the courier, which actually is a pretty tough task, right? But fortunately, we had an expert in this sort of tough, weird tasks on our team in Saiho.
I could be in bed right now, but instead I'm here.
You could be helping. You could be.
You told me to do specific things, so I'm procrastinating this specific thing right now.
And I was telling everyone, don't worry guys, I can do this in 1 day. It wasn't exactly 1 day.
Saiho's sad.
Oh, why that?
No, I drank all of the Coke in every fridge. There is no more Coke.
Which one?
I don't know what to do. Have you noticed that I was drinking water? That's the reason. There was no more Coke.
There was definitely a lot of stress in the office at that time.
No, I'm just trying to be an optimist. Look at this thing.
No, it's 5 couriers. It's 5 couriers.
Yeah, I agree that it's 5 couriers.
Okay, but like, if you squint, it could be 1.
No, wait.
Very last minute, we're making these changes, and at that point, we're sort of scrambling, trying to get the model to understand that it now has just 1 courier.
Maybe we just have the Philip hack in there. Maybe Philip just did that. Maybe we just don't know. Okay.
Oh no, we do have. Oh, what the hell?
What? We have 5 couriers
Wait,
on
hold
courier 1?
Hold on.
No.
Yeah, we have 5 couriers.
On courier 1.
Yeah. Yeah, they're only controlling 1. Oh, look, they're only controlling 1 of them.
But we have 5.
But we have 5. We have 4 at the base, or probably there's non-zero number at the base.
Right before.
Shit.
Without those restrictions. But do we even really know that we're going to be at all good on single courier?
Okay, we won't be very bad for sure, but we have to remember that we have an edge because we have 5 couriers. So it's even if you have a good single courier implementation, we are losing that edge, basically.
Yeah.
When we went to the single courier world, not only did the single courier itself have to do something sane, which was the part that Saiho worked on, was the scripting behind that, but it also meant that the heroes had to play a little bit differently.
Now our bots have to learn to play with it, because now our bots have to think, if you can say think, about a few additional things.
That also meant that we had to get a ton of contract teams to play against us to figure out where we stood.
Oh, we got some kills. Yeah, we're doing fine.
Yeah, we're doing perfectly fine.
Perfectly fine?
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Yesterday we tried playing a game with single courier against one of the best teams that we ever tested against. We had an interesting late game, which is the first time ever. We never seen the bot come back from a late game. Secondly, single courier worked quite well.
So good! This is so good!
Yep.
Boom.
I've never been to TI, I've never been to any large esports gaming event. I've only been, passive observer on YouTube, and that is nothing like what we saw. Experience it was just like a moment of shock for me, I guess, to take it all in, and I didn't know Dota was this popular at all.
The International is like the Super Bowl of Dota 2. You're a player, your goal is to win the International.
There's no prize pool that matches Dota 2's International. There's no event that's as prestigious. I've been playing this game for 12 years, and it was always my dream to play at an International. I'd give away everything that I have so that I could have one good shot at it, because there's nothing like it.
The moments of seeing teams up on stage, walking out after a loss or walking out after a win, really had a big impact. Seeing the emotion that was on the stage, you kind of realize how important this game is to those people. It brings it from this thing that we watch every day where yeah, the AI is playing Dota again, to really showing what it meant to the individual players. And I think that was pretty cool.
Hey, I'm William. Nice to meet you. Hey, William. How do you think? Pleasure.
No, I think 1, 2, 3.
You do?
Yeah.
Easily.
I think the game is too complicated for a bot to understand it this fast. I heard it hasn't played against actual pro players. I think we'll beat it easily. Yeah. If we would lose in an actual strategical way, they just outsmart us, then I'll be scared. But if they just beat us because they're better they just use spells faster or like they're just more coordinated,
Sure.
then I'd be fine with it. Because it depends. Like the players, they need to have a good day. There's bad days and good days. On a good day, you will just go 8-0, and on a bad day, you'll just go 0-8. It's so random, you know.
It seems like it's going to be a great match. It's going to be an exciting match no matter what. Just forget about the results, forget about what we've gotten done. Just the fact that like everyone has come together and really worked to make this happen. I think that's just been an amazing thing to watch. Like I think we've really gelled in a way that, you know, I think like 6 months ago, I think we were just starting to kind of get a feel for each other. I think that's something that's really awesome.
And also, win or lose, like, we have done an awesome thing and we should be proud of it. I mean, this is not about winning. We're not in the tournament. I know everyone's stressed about, like, are we going to win? Are we going to lose? We should be excited and stressed and not, like, worried and stressed because regardless, like, we're on stage with the best in the world, like, literally. So, we got here.
I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning, couldn't get back to sleep for 2 hours, and just lay there just thinking about this and thinking about all the things that we needed to do and, you know, all the different outcomes that we could have. And like one thing I think is so exciting is that like we are truly going to learn at the same time that the whole world does.
Everyone, it's time to line up.
For those of you who might have followed the journey of OpenAI, of course, we did see OpenAI 5 a couple weeks ago before the International as a teaser of what's to come, and just some slight changes as we're going into this. The biggest one being that we will be playing with regular couriers. Continuing on, we'll have no illusions, no bottle, no rapier, no scan usage. What's going to happen is we're going to play 3 matches across 3 days, and there will be a different opponent each day. Today, first up is going to be none other than Pain Gaming.
Yeah, so apparently everybody thought to themselves, what two better people to be able to commentate this game than two humans who got their asses handed to them by the OpenAI 5.
For match 1, I was actually in the booth with Enrique and Susan because we had decided we would set up the game and then we would stand awkwardly behind them while they played.
It's 7 minutes in, OpenAI down by only 1K, and it's holding a much better pace than I expected it to.
The game started out about how we expected. There was a lot of surprise kind of in the booth. You know, the AI was doing things that they just weren't expecting.
How is this possible? What the fuck is this shit?
Now the TP start coming in from Pain. They do try and go for the call from Weehaw. Now
The
no,
Ravage.
he actually gets ravaged up before he gets the call with the freezing field in perfect position. They just TP into disaster on the side of Pain. Weehaw does manage to cut down the gyrocopter, but instantly dies. A bad fight for Pain, and it's the first time I believe that OpenAI 5 is now ahead in network.
I think at a certain point, the humans had the correct strategy of kind of backing off a little bit, not trying to take fights, realizing that the AI was really good at these little skirmishes that were happening along the map.
OpenAI 5, though, is only 1,000 net worth up, so Pain are certainly very much in this game.
There was this back and forth going, and we were all in the stands and feeling those nervous butterflies.
I was glad that we were like in a contained booth and sealed because you kind of like, you're able to ignore the outside roar because it is a roar. Because we are in the booth, we don't get to see what's being shown in the screen outside, right? But we can gather what is happening from the players.
The humans continued avoiding the AI until they felt like they had enough of a gold lead to actually take the fights. And then they started seeking out the bots, and the whole control of the game sort of shifted.
Looks like Pain have figured out a way to extend it. Weehaw just continues to play this bottom lane out, waits for somebody to come in, stays around the area. If OpenAI is going to win this, they need to start setting traps.
4,000 gold lead now for Pain, and looks like it is time to push into the high ground.
Ooh, Pain is doing it. King RD getting aggressive, the double
nice
call.
On it too. They managed to catch the gyrocopter. Look how much damage HFN is putting out. So if Pain manages to force another good team fight, this could be over. We are approaching the 50-minute marker.
Pain, they want to end this game now.
They might be able to do it too. Great hit by Duster. That'll lock things down. OpenAI 5 are down to 4. HFN takes the kill. That is 5 dead. And Pain Gaming have won the first game against OpenAI 5. And they got to have a win on the main stage. Goes to show that at least there are some humans competent enough to beat the OpenAI 5.
I kept on trying to talk about it with people, like specifically Greg, and he didn't want to talk about it. I mean, I think in general we're happy with how this one went. I feel like having another game like this would be fine because like we were just worried about getting crushed, where it feels like you can't even tell if the bot is doing the right thing or the wrong thing. And I feel like there were definitely times in that game where they were doing the right thing and they were executing well.
As someone who writes machine learning or AI, it's very rare that you show it off to an arena of 20,000 people and get to see how it works.
Usually when you work on machine learning projects, you like write a paper and like maybe you'll give a talk and people will attend and you'll have some like nice like interesting feedback from that. This is just like a different kind of thing. You built this system and now like there's 20,000 people in an arena cheering for or against it.
Listening to everyone cheering or booing, reacting to how 5 plays. It was absolutely amazing experience.
People will point out, oh, you're part of OpenAI, I saw you on stage, congratulations. That feeling that people really wanted you to win and then were supporting you and then felt, you know, a little bit sad that you lost. That's the kind of thing I didn't expect to come out of this.
Valve told us that they felt like it didn't make sense to play another pro team, which we also kind of agreed with given how Pain went. They pitched us playing against these Chinese legends, I think is what they called them.
There's a group of ex-pros that really wants to play, that are like Chinese famous all-star ex-pros. And we think fans would be really like seeing all these like kind of famous Chinese players. I think it would be super entertaining and fun for OpenAI to play.
Okay.
It's Odie Pixel, it's Bruno, it's GLaDOS, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get ourselves ready for OpenAI Game 2 here at TI, and the biggest of Chinese legends taking to the playing field here as we get to see them come back together to go up against OpenAI in this match. 3 minutes in, we're seeing 4 of OpenAI and lane after lane, just rotating around, finding these kills, crushing these lanes. Just storming around the map as a full 5-man unit, OpenAI. I did opt for sort of the stats first, as in mid lane, he's getting gone on yet again. Ferrari in trouble, he's got the backup of ROTK.
Coconut bounces
he
correctly.
Cannot save him though, as that is, I believe, the 6th time Ferrari's gone down in the middle lane.
The humans need to make something happen and make something happen fast. It bears repeating, right? Like, these are TI winners. Yes. These are some of the best of the best.
Some of the best of the best.
They quickly adapted to parts of the games that they saw was unusual and sort of noticed some way of sort of using that to their advantage. At some point, I think they realized our axe was doing something very silly. And so they decided to just keep going, you know, picking off axe.
Back outside of the base, the 2 supports, Sancheng and Zhao having some fun here with the axe. They taunt him, tease him, the freezing, the holding in place as the axe should fall, and he does. The CM right click finishes him off. OpenAI's got to do something spectacular to keep control as the humans are just getting further and further ahead.
Yep. It's going to get pretty tough.
Yeah, the gyrocopter is just dominating.
One of their characters ended up being a lot stronger than any one character on our team. And I remember watching this game and being really terrified at any encounter we would have with this one overpowered character.
Another kill for the gyrocopter.
Yeah, and the humans keep making good play after good play, understanding the rotations and just taking those heroes as they're trying to farm, as they're trying to create space.
Can OpenAI hold against the Megas, against the team?
No, I don't think you can with that lineup right now. So now there's only Witch Doctor, and he's going to die.
The Death Ward, symbolically used there in honor of his own death. As OpenAI taken down again, your Chinese legends have done it. ROTK burning, Ferrari 430, Sancheng.
Well, that was a fantastic play from them. Again, taking control of that game. having a great time with burning at that gyrocopter.
Yeah.
Yeah, RTZ maybe needs to take some lessons.
They had Chinese words for everything.
Yeah. Like, you don't know the word rapier?
I just wish that we at least won one game, because I think the crunch of the last 2 weeks was pretty exhausting for a lot of people on the team. We kind of expected that things might not turn out that well, but it still would have been nice to win.
Yeah, Vancouver was hard. We didn't expect to straight up win, but we had hope.
That second game for me was just, it wasn't anything more than the previous games. Like, well, okay, we're not there yet. Can't beat an 18 yet.
TI was still, I think, a success. Even though we didn't beat any of the teams there, we did hold our own. Like, it was a struggle. You could tell they were working hard, but they still knew how to overcome them. So
There's such a massive difference between 5 very skilled players playing together and then a pro team that practices and plays full time together. The Chinese All-Star stack, there were 5 professional players, but that wasn't even a team. And Pain Gaming, you know, great bunch of lads, but they weren't really one of the best teams at that international. The fact that the AI wasn't able to beat those 2 teams, you know, certainly meant there would be a lot more work that they would have to do.
I think it kind of reset some of my thoughts a bit. Some of that initial, feeling of awe at what the bots achieved competing against the caster team, the more conventional, what was standardly understood about Dota and how to play it was what prevailed. The professional teams competing at TI8, their way of playing Dota was at least shown to be better than what OpenAI was doing at the time.
It's been 6 months since TI. The bot has gotten better. It's gotten better less quickly than it was getting better before TI, which has made us all a little bit frustrated. Before TI, there was this magical, incredibly fast growth. And since then, it's slowed down.
For the past 2 months, it's been pretty up and down. We've sort of labeled it as wiggling, which is when our graphs wiggle up and down, but don't really make any clear progress.
We have an idea, like, look, this has to work. We just need to push it harder, take it to the next level. Like, it has to work, right? And it doesn't. Sometimes people be out of the office and the bot's just tanking and you're like, oh my God, like, what do we do? Like, we're wasting all this compute and it's getting worse.
In normal development, you just write rules, what has to happen. But here, we don't write those rules. We try to point in specific directions. This thing looks very important. It would be nice if you could spend more time with that. Hopefully, we will be better. Hopefully. Sometimes the effect is completely opposite. Actually, quite often, that's the case.
In general, the experiment, I would label as kind of fragile. It's been through a lot, and there's a bunch of other things that we want to do that just kind of don't work out the way you want it to.
But it is much better than it was at TI. And so in about a month, we're gonna play the winners of TI in a public game.
One way or another, this will actually be the last competitive milestone for the project. And the real goal for us is never about beating teams, but the real goal for us is AI progress. We want to take this system and distill down to general purpose technologies that we're able to apply to other domains.
The power of flowers and friendship. I've done it here, ladies and gentlemen. Your grand champions of TIA. It's OG.
OG is the most recent winner of the International. They have won the biggest prize pool ever. They're just such a cool team because they were never meant to do it. A pretty big site for Dota ranked the teams in order of their chances, and OG got dead last, 18th. They had to play through what is called an open qualifier. They barely got through in a best of 5. I think the score was 3-2. So they were 1 game away from not making it in the first place. They didn't look all that impressive going into it, and they did it. It was so wild. They did it.
Witnessing their success from the underdog position was just really exciting. It was pretty evident in the crowd how excited people were that you've got these underdogs that kind of just end up winning TI.
So those guys are gonna play against OpenAI, and I think they're gonna win. I mean, they're so good. They're so talented.
I sat down with one of my coworkers who's really interested in probability and odds about whether or not I thought we would beat OG. I think the number that ended up coming out was like 63%. I don't know how I feel about that number. It's lower than I would have wanted it to be going into this final match, but I think it's pretty honest.
We all watched at TI those games, like riveted watching those games, and they're really good. So I don't know. I feel uncertain.
You don't become good at these games because you have one play or one trick up your sleeve. Usually professional players will study mid-game what's going on and based on that completely adapt their way of playing.
I would say 60%, 70%.
I think we have solid like 80% chance of winning.
I'd say we have at least an 80% chance, but I hope that by the end would be like closer to 90, 95.
I think we only have like a 30 or 40% chance. The pessimism comes from the fact that we just haven't really been able to measure progress. And we've seen all the metrics that we have in place that traditionally told us that we were doing better are currently failing.
We also, as of last week, lost against one of our test teams, which is the first time this has happened since, I think, TI. So that seems to suggest there's something possibly lurking in the shadows that's pretty scary. Yeah.
So today we're going to be playing OpenAI. This is the latest iteration as far as I know. The road to playing OpenAI in San Francisco has been a long one. We've all been on different teams throughout our individual journeys, but we got together with this iteration before the International 8 and we managed to win. So I guess this is what leads us here. Best team in the robotics versus the best team in the flesh.
Obviously it's a different aspect of Dota. And Dota is a game we're very passionate about, and we've seen a lot of stuff in Dota, obviously. We've played against all the teams all over the world. Now we're playing against a new opponent, a new Dota opponent, so that's super exciting. It pushes certain aspects of the game to limits we've never seen before.
First game might be the hardest, but after that, I like to believe that we're going to know what we have to do to beat it.
You know what's funny though? We went through all this stuff that you guys are going through, like literally the exact conversation we had about Necro, about what will they do if we just cut waves? We had all this same talk. It was so funny.
Still lost.
We still lost in 20. So it's not bad. Like, it'll give you a rough game. It's just such a weird style that, like, even if you think through this stuff, you have to play it once to, like, understand what's going on.
It's about an hour before the first game starts. We are doing last-minute preparations, making sure everyone knows how to connect to the game.
I'm feeling pretty nervous going into it. I'm trying not to focus too much on the win or loss because, I mean, to be honest, it's really not main intent. Although, like, going into a game, you always want to win. You always want it to be a good game.
I feel pretty good. I'm excited. It was fun to set up the players on stage. They seem to be pretty comfortable, so yeah, I can't wait to see what happens.
We are 36 minutes away from the stream coming on. I think we're 6 minutes away from doors opening, and so then we'll fill the seats and start off with our best of 3 with OG.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the OpenAI 5 Final.
We're still out. We're here for OpenAI 5 Finals 2019, and we have a very fun day ahead of us. Before anything else, I'd like to give the stage to Greg Brockman, who is the chairman and CTO of OpenAI.
Yeah. This is a historic moment. It's going to be the first time that an AI has even attempted to play the world champions in an esports game. OG is just on another level relative to any other team that we've played. And so the truth is, we don't know what's going to happen either. But this event, it's really about something bigger than who wins and who loses. It's about letting people connect with a strange, exotic, but still somehow very tangible intelligences that are produced by today's rapidly progressing AI technology. So please enjoy the show, and just keep in mind, no matter how surprised the AIs are to us, know that we're going to be even more surprising to them. All right, let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the International 2018 champions, OG.
Picks on here with Cap, and we're ready for this game one of OpenAI 5 versus OG. We've just seen the draft, Cap. It's going to be a lot of group up and go, and this is what we've seen in the past OpenAI be very strong at, this old 5-man Dota. Oh, already up top. The action's kicking off as OpenAI will claim first blood.
Oh, jeez. Look at that.
That's already gone up quite a bit since the drafting phase.
The trash talk has already begun.
OpenAI diving past the tower. They'll find no tower, but they dove pretty deep for this, the OpenAI. The reaction will be there from OG. They have both the combo of the SF and the Shaker to bring down the Gyrocopter. So aggressive plays from the OpenAI, but it does end up in a trade that favors OG on that top lane.
Let's just keep playing the map. Let's take a favorable
keep
fight.
Playing the map.
Easiest fight possible.
We don't need to do it.
You see Jax, he's going to look for a wraparound on mid. The setup's there with the Fisher. OpenAI's blocked in. Nowhere for the Death Prophet to run, as that will be another kill here for Thompson. OpenAI once again looking to dive in deep past the tower with this Gyrocopter and Sven combination. No-Tail keeping the two of them alive as OG's able to turn, bring down the Sven. Still though, trying for this SF. Gyro desperate for the kill, but he cannot find it. As with the Fisher and the heals from No-Tail. And OG again able to hold on despite the aggressive plays from the OpenAI on that top lane.
We can fight them. Pretty simple.
Yep, I just need to get here to get my item.
Do we have to fight them? No.
No, but it's what we should want to, right? I want to fucking win, so I want to fucking crush them 5v5.
There's a huge psychological aspect to Dota. When you play against other players, like a lot of players are going to be too aggressive, not aggressive enough, scared, whatever, all these human emotions. When you play against that, about the feeling I got instantly is that it's just here to do what it's supposed to do at any given time. And so then you feel like your ego, it's a handicap, kind of.
10 minutes in, 8 to 9, less than a 1k lead here at the moment for the AI. It's an incredibly close start to the match. See back towards mid Thompson, and he's able to chase down the CM. A big ult comes out though. Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh my god.
Oh, the OpenAI Crystal Maiden doing it big time there, and in fact they're going to get the SF as well. The Crystal Maiden going big, standing her ground. She knew she'd get those 2 kills.
For the first game, we felt like we had the game under control. We got what we wanted and needed to get ourselves in a very winning position.
Let's get the top pressure again. They're running back here.
Yeah, I think we should fight, but we need Ana.
Yeah, we're not in position yet.
And it seems like OG has found a kind of pattern to take it to the AI, but they are going to lose 2 here, it looks like.
This team, OpenAI, will not stay down. They get immediately back into the game.
The game was super close and super nerve-wracking for like a really long time until 5 gave like the 95% win probability.
As back on form, it's a 95% here for OpenAI.
From our human perspective, this is an even game, Owen. How are they saying 95%?
This game does not look one-sided. It's very even in the net worth. OpenAI, though, feeling incredibly confident with themselves, and they are going to dive in past the tower. Sven will make sure that No-Tail's pushed all the way back, but OpenAI, they've got 2 more kills.
They have 1 play, Gus. Keep in mind.
My God.
1 play, what they're doing.
We got caught several times in the game thinking that, you know what, it looks decent for them, but we probably have 5% chances to outplay them right now, or to out-execute them. So let's take that chance. And obviously that's our ego talking.
Seb and Jarek's fall, they snipe down No-Tail right up to the high ground. The Death Prophet has the Yule Scepter controlling Anna. Anna's gonna fall as well. As OpenAI, they're into the base. It's 19 minutes in. They're taking the tier 3 tower. OG losing hero after hero once again. OpenAI now with a 28,000 network lead. OG's Ancient exposed. They are trying to keep them drawn away from the Ancient, but it doesn't matter. The creeps are on the Ancient. GG is called, and OpenAI take game 1, and Cap, they look pretty terrifying.
For me, the scariest thing of all was when we were talking about this looks like an even game, and AI says, no, we actually have a 95% chance to win this game. That's how superior, apparently, their analysis of that game was.
They were absolutely bang on, and pretty much from that moment onwards, it was them in the driving seat.
That was fun and stressful. I think OG was quite confident in their team fighting ability. This is the one dimension where the 5 can coordinate perfectly. But now OG does have a chance to really learn from this game. Like, one of the big things is that they get to learn and adjust their strategy, while we don't. We don't learn from this game at all.
OpenAI 5 versus OG Game 2.
Let's see what is going to change in the second game. We've had the different drafts. OpenAI a little less sure in comparison to as they were out the draft of Game 1 this time round. Both teams sort of playing a game of chicken here with one another, seeing who will push each other over the edge. Thompson will have the salve.
I'm dead, I think. Just keep running.
As the chase continues top, salve will be popped, but he gets cancelled here by the stun. OpenAI diving past the tower with the damage from the Viper and the Sven. They'll claim the Slark's life. They'll get No-Tail as well. The AI turning it up early here in this game too.
Oh, 95% now.
6 minutes in, OpenAI already just getting objectives much faster than they were able to in Game 1. They are playing at a ferocious speed here in the second game.
For the second game, we got the real OpenAI treatment, where they got what they wanted. They got a lot of the lanes, they started grouping up, and we felt like we couldn't really play our way out of that group up.
I'm sitting there staring at the screen like, I have no idea, right? We just kept pulling off these plays.
Thompson, he's desperately looking for this Crystal Maiden, but the movement's here with the Shadow Amulet, dancing herself away, utilizing to make sure that Thompson cannot get that final hit on her, continuing to use the Amulet, getting away out of this. Thompson, can he find this? He does get the vision for the Assassinate, but then Sable, the stun comes out from the cast, cancelling the Assassinate. The Crystal Maiden kept safe and alive.
All right, that's pretty good. Fucking lost.
OG, they cannot catch a break this game. This is pure domination from OpenAI, start to potentially an early finish. 17 minutes in, there looks like there's very little chance of OG turning this one around, as OpenAI almost playing around with them at this point.
You got it. Kill Orange, kill Orange.
Orange!
Come on!
Fucking die!
GG.
The Ancient will fall, and that is GG, game over. OpenAI taking game 2, taking the series 2-0. But honestly, this second game in particular, this is a fantastic example of something that, as a player of Dota 2, as a professional, you watch how OpenAI just absolutely crushed this 20 minutes of gameplay, and there's got to be a lot to learn from the way that they played this game.
I'm ecstatic. I mean, it's like not the situation that you prepare for, because you don't want to be overly optimistic. You don't want to like get your confidence up, and like, so we've been focusing for months now on the 0-2 situation, on the 1-2 situation, and to be in this spot is very exciting.
Sorry. We've been working really hard for a really long time. I'm also really tired. But I don't know, I didn't. It's been a lot of trouble the last few weeks trying to get the experiment working well. It's been difficult to get it to. We've had problems. We have training problems, and I think everyone's like really nervous about those. So I can't hold it. But it's just
Having this machine, like, being able to out-reflex you over and over and over and over and over again doesn't sit well with me. But yeah, today humans lost.
I'm trying to think, what did we do better than them today? I have a hard time coming up with stuff. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure actually, like what did we beat them at? That's pretty scary. Yes, of course. It might sound weird, but I think we're still very confident, even though we lost pretty hard today. I don't think we're at the point where we were like, wow, this is undoable. I think we're still like, oh, come on, man. Give us another game, we can still beat it.
All right, everybody, eyes right in the lens and big smiles, please. Ready? And 1, 2, 3. We're doing a lot of photos, so keep going.
As we were coming up to finals, we were trying to think of ways to give back to the community. We've asked a lot from the community, and they have given us a lot back, but we need to give them something back.
Arena was this event where anyone on the internet could play against it. And it was really exciting. Now we're like sharing it with people, letting everyone poke at it and play with it and see how it goes.
We had a lot of people playing at once. We set up streams so you could watch them playing, and it was a little bit of an overwhelming couple of days where we were like 24/7 watching the stream, waiting for people to win.
People were playing it all over the world. Lots of players in Asia, lots of players in Eastern Europe, Western Europe. Over 7,000 competitive games played. We lost 42 games. In the 42 games that we lost, there were some patterns. You would see the same teams beating us multiple times as they figured out the strategy.
So how does this happen? How come you have this bot? One day, it beats the best human players. Next day you hear, some people on the internet were able to beat it, exploit some weaknesses somehow. It's important to think about how does this bot get its intelligence, playing against itself over and over and over. And initially, it has some strategy. It plays against itself. Strategy becomes better, better, better over time. And so there's this whole sequence of strategies it goes through. And the final bot has learned to beat all those strategies. But if now you come up with a completely different strategy, very different from anything in that sequence of strategies it has been playing against when playing itself, it's going to be surprised.
In our Libratus project, we introduced this new kind of module, which we call the self-improver. That looks at what are the actions that the adversaries have taken, and then overnight fills its own holes in its strategy.
The bot would play against itself using that action. And so the bot was able to figure out why it was winning after it took that action. Now, this wasn't an instantaneous process. It would take some time. And in fact, it took about 12 hours for the bot to fill in this weakness. And this is incredibly important if you want to apply these techniques in the real world.
To achieve the level of reliability in your system so you can handle every possible variation in the real world is just still really, really hard. And that's exactly why we still don't have self-driving cars, because it's so hard to deal with all that variation you're going to encounter when driving.
When we first started the project, we didn't know if people would want to play against us. We didn't know if people would want to watch. There's something very human about like improving at this game. I think some people were a little hesitant at first to have an AI come in and kind of like beat the game. That would sort of like take something away. But I think if you look at things like chess, which did sort of like get beaten by AI, it didn't really take away from being a really good chess player. It kind of gives back to the game itself because you can learn things.
Seeing the OpenAI bots beat OG was, at least on some level, a shock. I was taken aback. It definitely changed my perspective and how I perceive the game of Dota and just the way it can be analyzed.
I think most of us went back to watch these games. They were very interesting. Oh boy.
Oh my god. Oh, it's painful to watch actually.
There we go. This is nightmare-inducing. This is actually really interesting.
We have 4 people dead. He's the only one alive. This hero is really about to die, right? But it has a trick to like switch from being invisible to being visible.
He's kind of risking his life. I actually think Thompson has him dead here.
Now he turns and uses a spell on him. Usually this would be called straight up taunting in Dota. It's like, that guy is not only beating me, he's also humiliating me, and it feels really bad. And most players would play much worse once that happens because they start getting annoyed and frustrated. And it's doing it, I mean, I'm getting annoyed watching this. Instead of running, he stands still and is about to cast a spell. And this guy, his friend, or I don't know, he's not his friend, whatever, like, is gonna be able to kill Thompson.
It actually looks like he's baiting him in, which is just very human. Baiting is like a human term, right? So, I don't know, cueing some X-Files music right now.
In our work on poker, we often get asked, how do you program the AI to bluff? And the short answer is, we don't. Bluffing is not a psychological phenomenon. It's rather a mathematical phenomenon.
Bluffing is about probability. It's saying, I have a weak hand. If I just play it safe, I'm not going to win with this weak hand. If I bet, then I know an expectation my opponent will fold, and I will make more money than if I didn't bet. And that's all a bluff is. And so you can get an AI to learn how to bluff just by playing against itself.
Thinking about OpenAI and why it does what it does, I think is very rewarding for any team. I think every team should ask itself that now that they have the opportunity.
You play against it, you realize that it has a playstyle that is different. It's doing things that you've never done and you've never seen. Sometimes it looks extremely silly. But then again, like, are you gonna be human and be like, hey, this looks very stupid, like this is bad? Or you try to take it to the next steps, like, why is it doing this?
So us humans, we have a role system in Dota. You plan strategies according to your role division. You pick your heroes according to it. We have our position 1 and 2 that we try to buff up until they're strong enough to win the game. OpenAI, no roles, nobody cares. They have kind of a musical going on that we don't have going on at all as people for the most part. Everybody has that one item that just makes them a little bit stronger, and then they strike and try and end the game. That gave us ideas.
Then you realize that we're guilty of being stuck in a team dynamic, whereas sometimes we have to be way more flexible. It's extremely hard, and I don't think, if I had to put a number on it, it's like if OpenAI does that, like the dynamic switch at 100%, we maybe went from, I don't know, 5% to 10%, but that is already a difference. We've noticed it.
Tier 2 tower, they have friends to help him out. Thompson, he's the man that's going into the fountain once again. This is soul-breaking. GG!
Okay.
GG!
In 2019 at the International, Team OG showed up with the same roster, but once again, they weren't favorites to win the tournament.
The season leading into the International did not go so well for them. I personally did not back them. There were so many other teams that were dominant throughout the season.
Together you stand, together you die, and together you GG. Newbie are out, OG have knocked them down to the lower bracket.
I think sort of after the first few days of main event, people were like, all right, they're gonna do it again.
They proved me wrong in the most spectacular way. They gained a lot of ground throughout the group stage, and then they went into playoffs and just demolished everybody.
OG in the upper bracket finals, bring down LGD. OG are going to the grand finals for the second year in a row.
I mean, they did have something that allowed them to win, and you know, this X Factor, everybody's always looking for it, and maybe OpenAI found it, and maybe professional teams can learn from it.
OG, you thought you saw it all in game 2, you thought you saw it all in game 3, there it is, gone! OG are your two-time TI champions, they've done it, folks!
And in what a fashion! These last 3 games didn't even seem close.
One of the reasons why it was so impressive, no one had been able to do it. No team had won it back-to-back. No team had won it 2 times at all. And, you know, really has cemented themselves as, you know, this 5 stack of players is the best team of all time in Dota 2.
most exciting part of the day.
Look at all the things that happen when you come.
When we trained the OG bot, we basically trained this one system continuously for 10 months. There were a lot of minor to major code changes over the course of that time, but the lineage of the bot is like you can trace it back all the way to these random parameters that we started with in July of 2018.
When you look at the game of Dota, there's all these classical AI research problems. There is long horizons, 20,000 steps to play the game. There is partial observability. You don't get to see everything that's happening. And then what you observe is still very large, 10,000 plus variables every moment that your system has to take in. Most researchers, including me, would think, hey, probably you're gonna need new methodologies to solve this. But OpenAI took the bet and said, hey, what if we just really scale this up? And sure, a ridiculous amount of self-play was done, a ridiculous amount of data, but they showed that actually if you do scale this up, you don't need these new methods. Existing reinforcement learning was shown good enough to crack this problem.
There's this concept of sample efficiency. How many times do you have to try something out before you really learn it?
This is going to be one of the major challenges for AI research going forward. How do we make these algorithms more sample efficient? Because when you're acting in the real world, you're not able to collect trillions of examples. You're not able to play trillions of games of Dota 2. We need to have this sample efficiency where we can collect data from real world experiences. And once we're able to do that, then suddenly it unlocks a lot of opportunities for AI to be deployed in real world situations where we don't have an exact model.
I think one of the keys will be some sort of background knowledge. What is the assumed structure that people just commonly understand is in the world, so that you don't have to learn everything the hard way.
Dota helped us create this large-scale reinforcement learning technology and the techniques to really make it shine. We actually took that, we applied it to physical robotics, and so we were able to solve a robotics problem of controlling a robotic hand that no one had been able to solve for many decades. And now, actually, the robotics team has taken the next step and has been able to not just control a hand to do a simple task of manipulating a block, but they can actually solve an entire Rubik's Cube. And so the complexity of tasks that we're able to solve just keeps marching up and to the right.
It's really cool to work on a very hard problem that you don't believe it's possible, and then suddenly, like with small steps, it looks like it's more and more probable that it's going to happen. And it's suddenly achievable, and then because it's achievable, it's no longer interesting. So personally, I am just waiting for the next project because obviously this one is easy, we've done it, like who cares? I just want to have next impossible task. And
Artificial Gamer is a fantastic film that really showed off both Dota
and the technology known as artificial intelligence. Chad, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
No, thank you so much for watching it with us. It's, this has been a long time coming, and it's just super excited to finally be able to get it out in the world and everybody get a chance to see it. So.
Yeah.
Now, Chad, I think one of the interesting things about the film was that you have a kind of a weird challenge, right? You have to be able to give a human element to what is artificial intelligence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is being able to, like, what was that process like for you as a director?
Well, for me, I mean, I think that really it's the OpenAI team that brings the humanness to it, right? I mean, I think that no matter what the bot is doing, I mean, the real human part of that side of the story is all of these engineers and the sort of time and the energy and the effort that they put into making it happen. So I don't think, like, in that way, making the bot more human was necessarily a task, but certainly there was a lot of thought gone into that with the animation sequences and working with Lost Cosmonauts and how we were going to sort of represent the bot and sort of what character we were going to use, and those sorts of thoughts, were things that we were talking about for sure. So
yeah, it was really cool to see a different take on how the Dota match went, like the 1v1 with Dendi. The way that that was animated, it really brought, like, it was truly cinematic. It felt less like a Dota game and more like I was watching a movie, and that was fantastic work.
Well, thank you. And I have to give a lot of credit where it's due, and Lost Cosmonauts and Anatoly Chausa did those sequences. That the 1v1 sequence in particular is Anatoly, and again, they're fans of the game, they're players. For me, it was sort of like I would have this idea of what I thought was cool, and then they plussed it. They came in and as fans of the game, as they were able to sort of add those touches that I think that a lot of people pick up on.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I think one of the things I found interesting, Chad, what's your favorite hero in Dota? Was it your decision to make it the Axe? Is that your favorite hero? Or
well, it's in reverse. Yes, Axe is my favorite hero, just because he has become the face of the bot, and I cannot play Dota, so that's all I can base it on. But yeah, Axe was a conscious decision, and the Lost Cosmonauts who did those sequences with the bot learning, they actually initially were really advocating for Clockwork. They really felt like Clockwork would be an obvious choice. I felt like we needed to have a character that was from the OpenAI draft pool. It just made sense to me that it needed to be one of the characters that the bot actually played.
Right.
But I was also, that's the moment. I mean, coming back to your earlier question, that's the one moment where we really do try to sort of anthropomorphize the bot and really try to give it like a human quality. And so for me, I wanted a humanoid character to be that role. I wanted to see facial expressions. I wanted to see sort of happiness and confusion and all those things. And so looking at the pool that OpenAI was playing with Axe just became like the natural choice. So.
It was really funny just to watch Axe kind of like run into the rocks, run into the terrain, like lean his head against the light. That was really cool. It really, for someone that isn't data minded like myself, it definitely put a lot of perspective into how the bot itself was learning. So thank you for that. It's just really cool to see.
Now, Chad, is there any behind-the-scenes stories that you can share? I mean, you got a chance to be able to re-interview OG after they had lost that show match a little bit afterwards. Is there anything that interesting that they had to say?
Well, one of the things that Notel had said that we weren't able to fit it into the film, but I loved his initial analogy of playing the bot. He described it as a situation of like an elephant fighting a pack of baby lions, and this idea that like the human player as an elephant, you sort of have this confidence that like you're going to grow and you're going to get a bit stronger and eventually you're going to be able to take these opponents. But this pack of baby lions is just so tenacious and so fast that they kind of take you down before you're able to get to that point. The other thing that was fun about that moment, honestly, is obviously Seb and Notel had spent a lot of time thinking about it before that moment, but I don't think either of them had really gone back to the game in a little while. And so that moment when they're watching, like, that was like legitimately like they were both kind of headed like, oh, I can't believe so that was a lot of fun.
Honestly, that analogy speaks to me quite a bit because when I played against it, I felt like a baby elephant against a full-grown pack of lions. So yeah, that makes sense to me.
That was definitely one of my questions for you. Like, how did it feel to play and get completely demolished?
Terrible. It felt terrible. I was looking at OG and they're smiling and laughing afterwards. I was like, I didn't feel that way afterwards. I was embarrassed.
Well, you know, OpenAI proved that they are a worthy contender. You know, so a loss to them is not it's not like it's a small thing. You know,
True.
it's just like a lot of people lost to it, and it's a very advanced technology. But we actually have some extra footage for you all, thanks to Chad providing us with this. Cap, tell us about the secret.
That's right. It is a secret. In fact, it's team secret. They are the first team who managed to play up against OpenAI, and we've got a little bit of a sneak peek in that.
We are gonna play our first match against a pro team, and it is now 7:20 a.m.
We had the manager from Team Secret reach out to us. They were actually boot camping for TI nearby, so we were able to actually drive to where they were boot camping and kind of talk with them a little bit, have them play against our bot.
We are T-minus 5 minutes.
Damn, this is cool.
I think coming in to the Team Secret batch, we were excited, but I don't think any of us would have put us at a higher than 50% chance of winning.
Going into it, I think the real question that I had, and probably everybody else had, was how long does it take for a professional team to adjust to the weirdness of the AI? You know, does that take one game or does it take 3 games? Because if it takes 3 games, we're pretty much set.
Team Secret, in my opinion, is top 2 team in the world. They just won the most recent event that I worked, ESL Katowice in Poland. They dropped 1 game in the entire tournament. Not 1 series, 1 game.
So we have a full of 18 heroes, right? And the 5 couriers, right? That is the 5 couriers. We saw that too. The couriers are invulnerable, right? Yeah, invulnerable and blind. Yeah.
I think our chances of winning should be pretty high. If the whole pool would be open, I would say that we have a 100% win rate. But since they have their own meta with these 18 heroes, perhaps I don't know that much how they've invented their own strategies in that way. So I would say like a good, you know, maybe 3 out of 4, you know, if chances are given.
Okay, so we are 1 minute into the game. No kills, surprisingly.
Did not see that coming. I'm coming mid actually. I'm running in.
Hell's Gate!
Oh, they use the spells. Whoa. Oh, I'm running after some heroes. Yo, I got some. He's really fast.
Come to back! You and what army?
Not good timing, guys. Again.
Unstoppable double kill.
Almost.
I think this one's looking rough, fellas.
Alright, whatever. Good game.
We just won game 1.
The first game went about the same as the benchmark first game, where I think it was over maybe like 20 minutes. I think they could see what was kind of happening, but by the time they realized what they should be doing, it was a little bit late in the game.
I think they play a different play style, like completely.
They know all their spells can hit from like this far away. The second the distance comes close, they just all snap and do the right move in order to kill the hero, so it becomes very fast.
It seemed like 5 had done great, but on the other hand, Secret was saying that like, yeah, we were just playing around, and I think we honestly weren't really sure, and we were really excited to put it to the trial by fire and see in the second match who was right there.
So this is the second game. The drafting is a bit different.
Hey, remember, we have our own couriers. You don't need to stack up on tangos. You really don't need it.
During the first 15 minutes, we weren't exactly sure. There were a few situations where it looked like 5 may win.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
I want to solve this.
He might turn back. Yeah, he's turning back. Go.
There's a glitch here. I don't think we can fight them.
Oh, yeah, wait.
Okay,
He's,
bottom.
Running out of mana. They want your ass. They want your ass.
Pushing into a tower push bottom. 3 are defending in the trees. They're hiding in the trees. 2 are there.
Yeah. So this is one of our weakest points, by the way.
Great start. Oh my god, that is so good by the humans.
In Dota, you have trees. Trees block vision for units. You can hide in trees, and it turned out that the bot just simply forgets that you were there.
Once we played and got to understand how they actually play, we just had
We cheesed them.
we cheesed them. We hid in trees and split pushed them by cutting creep waves.
4 heroes, but I'm here too. I'm running. TP.
Let's keep waving the creeps.
Yeah. Which shot they're gonna do?
Mana boats on the way. You have one more.
Let's plan the wave clear and split push.
Sometimes in games you have those changing moments where you can essentially tell, oh, this is where they lost the game.
Get the lich, guys. Don't let him frost ultimate. CM's going ham, man. Yeah.
Dire's Ancient is under attack.
Oh shit, I don't see him.
Sentry!
Oh, he did. Well, that's that.
After the second game, they said there was almost no point in playing the third game because they knew that, the AI wasn't learning between games and they could just repeat what they had done in the second game. We had them try it anyway.
And we were completely crushed.
There's like 2 things that are like really world class. One is like when they decide to ball up, I think they do it with confidence, knowing that they're not gonna lose the ball. They calculate their spells really well. One misstep will cost your life.
Yes.
Whereas a human be like, oh, I didn't see that guy. They see. They see.
Yeah.
They see everything.
It was kind of the first glimpse that we got against a real pro team, and being able to see that gap between, the contract teams we'd been playing, the caster team we'd been playing, and a pro team is just so massive. I think that it kind of started the clock on we have a limited amount of time until TI, and we really have to get it together because, we're playing against professional players.
An awesome clip that we got to see that brought Cap through the full range of emotions. At first, when Team Secret lost the first game, he was like, "Yes, I feel so much better." And then the commentary came in where they said, "Yeah, it's totally different from playing Team Secret versus playing the caster team." And then Cap looked down at the ground and shed a tear. Cap, how does it feel to know that Team Secret also dropped a game?
That whole backstage footage was like excellent. I was feeling good. I was like, all right, Secret got trashed just like we did, and like, oh look, they learned the same things. Like playing off of the vision, the hidden knowledges they were talking about in the documentary. And then Brooke had to chime in and say that there was a massive difference, which she's not wrong. I understand that's true, but sometimes the truth hurts, right, Chad?
Just a little bit.
Oh gosh, Chad, did you feel like that same kind of emotion when you? Did you feel like the same emotion that OpenAI felt when they were talking about their bots losing versus their bots winning? Like, do you feel like you can empathize with that emotion?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, part of, I think making any film is that you want to live in the sort of world of your subjects, right? And that requires a lot of empathy, I think. And so, yeah, no, I was right there with them the entire time. I mean, sometimes even like you already know the outcome and you still get caught up in the moment, and you're still like very excited about it. So
I could feel the emotion of the OpenAI team as they went through all of the matches. Well, we're actually very lucky because we have 2 sets of Team OpenAI here with us to do some Q&A. So let's bring on the first team.
Hey, Greg.
Hey.
Oh, hey, and it's Brooke as well. Hi, Brooke.
Brooke, did you hear what he said?
I did. Sorry about that, Cap.
It's okay, Brooke. I appreciated your honesty. It's very true. Thanks for coming on and answering some questions for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're glad to be here.
My first question would be, so I asked Chad about this just a little bit ago, but what were can you explain to me your range of emotions as you were going through the different matches? You had some very, very strong wins, but you've also had a little bit of a defeat in some aspects as well. So can you just run me through like how the team was feeling? How did you keep morale up?
Yeah, actually, Christy, I think you're the one who maybe exhibited the strongest range of emotion in that film. So, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, I will say that like a lot of that might have been sleep deprivation causing some of that range of emotion swing. But I mean, I always felt the whole time that like we were all in it together, and everyone was very supportive of each other. And I mean, certainly I remember like the rallying cries that Greg gave us before each event to make sure that kind of cheer us up. Because I mean, the thing is, you hear about some of these losses and like, oh, they're in the trees. It's like, oh no, the whole thing's gonna come crashing down, right? Um, so I think the team was really supportive. That's I guess that's one thing that OpenAI Bot 5 couldn't do for us.
I would say that TI loss was dark. Like it just wasn't clear. For some people like Jakob, I think you walked away saying, we've got it. Like, look, we held our ground and it's going to work from here. And for me, I was like, I thought we were there. I had predicted like a 90% probability of winning, and I was clearly off the mark.
Well, to put that to the test, Greg, the team camaraderie that you guys have, I remember that moment where you said, we'll see you next year, 5. All OpenAI 5 ready to go, and you kind of threw down the gauntlet. And in the documentary, it's revealed that your team didn't actually expect you to say that. What behooved you to make that move? Was it just showmanship, or what? And I actually want to get Jakob's feedback as well, because I could literally see him in the documentary. You say that, and he's standing right next to you, and I could see just almost a bit of I'm not sure what it was, confusion, nervousness. I'm not sure.
So from my perspective, this was always the plan. Like I was surprised that anyone was surprised. Like, sure, we were doing 1v1 as a convenient milestone. I think we'd realized pretty early on that, hey, there's this mini game within the game that we can tackle as a starting point. But that was never the end. So, it was definitely you have these cheering fans in a 20,000 person arena. Of course, you're gonna try to dream big and try to set the sights on something worth achieving. But I was surprised in the film to see how surprised everyone was about it.
Our plan was to do 5v5 from the start, but at the outset, we didn't really know if we had the technology to do it, right? And so we were investigating, and we started with this milestone of 1v1. And even going to that TI, we weren't sure how we were going to do it. And we made a lot of progress on the technology during that TI, and then finally started working 1v1. But then it was still kind of like we were kind of seeing maybe a light in the tunnel, maybe it's going to work out in the end. And then Greg puts a deadline for us for 1 year. We're going to do this huge game. That was a bit of a surprise. I don't think we consulted that before.
I think also people always thought that we had more confidence going into the games than we actually did, because we're putting it on stage and we're having everybody watch. And so in reality, it was always a toss-up on whether or not we were going to win. And I think that nerves kind of tied into the first question too, in terms of why there was such up and down emotion, was because we really didn't know going into it. So putting something out on stage and saying, hey, next year we're going to come in with 5v5 was a blindside.
I will say though, in my defense, that I think this field is moving so fast that we really had no choice but to try to set that pace. And that I think we made pretty significant progress, and we didn't get it exactly for that TI, but we had a pretty good showing, and we got it 6 months later. And since then, I think we've also done some continued that rate of exponential progress. So I think it worked.
Knowing how far the bot was by the next TI, I think it was a fine deadline. Yeah.
Even though you may not have gone as far as you would have liked to in 1 year, for me, I feel like OpenAI became a beast in that 1 year. They only had 1 year from that point where they made that claim, and it's just beastly. One of the things that we of course. One of the things that we are also doing today is we are doing community questions. Remember, for all of you out there who may want to ask a question, go ahead and use the hashtag #AskArtificialGamer. If you have any feedback on the film itself, use the hashtag #ArtificialGamerFilm. We're listening. We're watching. We're learning. But yeah, so let's go to our first community question for the OpenAI team. How did the OpenAI team feel when Dota 2 went from 1 courier to 5 after they worked so hard to program the AI to learn how to use 1 courier? We all wanted to know this question.
Well, clearly we felt we should have just delayed by another year, and then we wouldn't have to do it. But Brooke, do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, definitely feel like we should have maybe lost less sleep over it. It would have been way easier to implement as is. There were a lot of hacks that had to kind of go in either to awkwardly like create 5 couriers out of 1 courier, or to try to basically slow down the turbo couriers and make them vulnerable. And neither solution really worked seamlessly, as you could kind of see in the film a little bit. But it was definitely something that was pointed out to us a lot about. Pros were at a bit of a handicap because they didn't know how to micro the couriers in the same way, right? When you're all sharing, usually the sport's microing it. So, yeah, in retrospect, maybe we shouldn't have spent all that effort, but oh well.
There was a brief period, like after that patch, where the couriers could also use items and do things. I think that would have been the golden age for our bot.
All right, let's go to our next question. Cap, will you do me the honors of reading the next one?
Absolutely. Let's see. Our next question, can you give us examples of what were the goals you gave OpenAI? Was it just to win the game? Or did you have to, like in the bridge analogy, did you have to nudge those numbers along? Did you have to give it a goal of killing the enemy or not dying twice and taking the tower? What was that process like?
Shimon, you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, so Dota in general is considered a game that is slightly hard to get into, and for me personally, it took me about 1,000 hours before I even could follow along. However, you need to appreciate the effort that developers have put in to make it obvious what are the right choices, right? So, for example, if you get a last hit, you see there is some gold, you hear the sound, and you kind of feel like you did something good here. Now, our bot only sees numbers. They do not see the animation, they do not hear the sound. So we needed to provide that incentive more explicitly, and we did it by a concept of something called reward function. So what we did is we told it like, hey, if you get a last hit, that's good. If you get a kill, that's even better. And if you take an enemy building, that's phenomenal. And that was useful. That actually helped us. That actually helped the bot train. Obviously, we were curious what would happen if we only use the win reward. What if we only ask the bot to just win the game? And we tried that for 1v1, and that kind of worked. That bot definitely saw that getting last hits is good. It definitely displayed some out-of-the-box strategies. But at the end of the day, it was learning slower. And at the end of the day, it only reached the semi-pro level rather than level of our best bots. And that points to a big open challenge in the domain of reinforcement learning, which we call exploration, which is how do we move past that like massive trial and error? How do we make the process of discovery more deliberate?
That's so cool that you can
just to add to that, Shimon. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just add. Well, yeah, really quick. I remember, Shimon, we were talking before when you were trying to talk about the bots aren't going to Roshan. Like, how do we make this work? And you were saying how you had to get a little breadcrumbs for reward shaping to get them to go there. I remember you were playing around with that a lot, and eventually they got it. But it took leaving the goals. I think you said gave them a reward for getting close to Roshan and then getting closer and closer or something like that. So you kind of had to lead them on a little bit.
And for Roshan specifically, right? Normally the bots never slay Roshan. So a human would sometimes notice hey, there's this giant monster out there. We never managed to slay it. What's up with that? Let's try it. Let's do it, right? And then they discover Aegis, then they discover it's good. But there is no notion of curiosity like this in current version of the bot. So I would love to see that in the future. And moreover, I do think that it might turn out that it's actually one of the obstacles on our way to way smarter technology. Yeah.
Well, like I was saying earlier, it's just so cool that you're able to teach AI to go to objectives by putting those little points down there and rewarding them for it. That's amazing. We have another question here. Would you like to do the honors, Chad?
Sure. So In the 2-year absence of OpenAI, has there been any improvements to AI training efficiency that you know would make the process easier or faster if you were to try it again?
Jakob, I think this one's a good one for you to answer.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I assume it's like 2 years since the project, right? I mean, we haven't exactly been absent, but so yeah, like the pace of progress in AI is astonishing, and I would say the most exciting result for me in these last few years would be the large language models like GPT-3, and I think their performance and what they can do is really surprising. And I think there are a lot of lessons we could take away from that if we were building a data bot from scratch. And I think probably the biggest one would be more focused on understanding how much model size matters and trying to sort of predict more rigorously the trade-offs between model size and how many games you play and things like that. And yeah, I think a better understanding of that alone could lead, could open the door to much stronger models, maybe with a bit more compute too. Especially, for example, like I think something we didn't really look into very much, but now we definitely would be if we wanted to play all the heroes, how important it would be to actually use a larger model. Another direction that I think sort of has gained a lot of steam in these last few years would be new ideas for exploration, and I think in particular the Mu0 line of work could be very interesting. It opens up a way to apply kind of the same technology that powered AlphaGo to problems with a bigger action space like Dota.
That's so cool. There's just so many different
and not
ways
to
do
throw
it.
down another gauntlet or anything, but maybe in a couple of years you'll see us come back to the Dota scene.
Greg just can't stop himself. He needs to be able to throw down
I
those
like
gauntlets.
I like that. I like that a lot.
We love Dota. Like I think it's a great domain. It's so good for AI, and we really love the community. So thank you everyone who's watching. Like we really appreciate everything that you did to help us go along.
On that note, Greg, a little birdie, Chad, may have told me that you guys developed a serious number of heroes that the OpenAI 5 was actually able to adapt to. Is there a number that you can give us in how many they were able to adopt and play well?
We were talking about the Babel
Shimon, do you
project.
want to answer this one?
Sure. Yeah. So yes, I think we experimented with I think up to half a hero pool at some point, but they never quite reached the competitive level, potentially due to shortcomings that Jack was just pointing out. I can tell you about one hero that I was looking forward to seeing how it plays, which was Techis. And the reason is because when we added wording to the bot, people we were very curious how well our bot is doing because it requires some long-term planning. But opinions were divided, and in fact, it's hard to put a metric on that. But for Techis, instead of placing words, it places mines, which require similar kind of foresight. There is a lot of time between placing a mine and explosion. But if an enemy carry randomly explodes in the middle of the jungle, that's objectively good. There is no room for discussion here. So we could actually more accurately evaluate is there some longer than thinking happening here.
All right, I like that. Play more techies. That's what I'm hearing from that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, some of the casters that we had earlier today might disagree with that. Lacoste. All right, well, let's go to another question here. Dota has since been updated with over 50 neutral items and an Aghanim shard for every hero. How long do you think it would take for OpenAI to relearn and reclaim its place at the top?
Jakob, you want to answer this one?
Yeah, I think, well, it depends if we were kind of if we just wanted to take the previous model and sort of update it, I think the game has changed enough that I'm not sure if that would be worthwhile. So probably we would kind of like we'd probably train it from scratch, and then from scratch, I don't think that changes would necessarily make it more complex for the bot. Yeah, and we wouldn't have
Yeah,
to.
I would keep in mind. I mean, we did do a from scratch retrain in I think like a month or two that had a 99% win rate versus the one that beat OG. So we do have the ability to start from kind of new game rules and get there quite quickly.
I think we actually ended up being a lot of the limitation, like the human portion of the OpenAI 5 was kind of the bottleneck, because figuring out how to translate a lot of the patch notes and the changes to the game to the bots was like one of the more difficult parts. So, for example, in our original pool, we had Lich, but then part of the way through training, Lich's abilities got changed. And I think imparting that sort of knowledge is easy for humans because you can put out patch notes and be like, this is what Lich's new ability does. But the bots have to experiment with it, and they don't really like trying to like cast the ability and have something unexpected happen. So he ended up just not using the ability whatsoever, and so that kind of transition was a lot more difficult than just training over from scratch.
But Greg did lay down the gauntlet, so those Agnim shard skills are gonna have to get learned pretty quickly, bots. All right, Cap, you take the next one.
All right, our one of our final questions here for our first iteration of the OpenAI is after the OpenAI 5 match versus OG, Greg announced the creation of the reasoning team to better understand OpenAI's ability to be creative and reason. Was there any interesting findings from that?
Yeah, so actually, Jakob and Shimon and I and my co-founder Ilya kicked off that team a couple of years ago, and there's been some pretty exciting stuff since then. And so, actually, Jakob, do you want to take this one as well?
Sure. Yeah, I think like if you look at the DataBot, right? If you look at it play or you play against it, like it kind of sometimes feels like it has some kind of strategy, right? Like I mean, it can beat OG, so it must have some idea, some understanding of the game. But it is hard to quantify exactly how much it understands the game and how much comes from just seeing this huge number of games, being able to try out so many different things, right? And I think this is this constant struggle in understanding these new AI technologies that they reason in a way different from us. And so we started the reasoning team to try to isolate like really what is the logical thinking going on in the model itself, kind of separate from the exploration process and so on, and focusing more on abstract thinking like mathematics and also problems that really require a lot of computation, provably. And from the outset, we are treating this as a quite long-term investigation. But yeah, I think we'll have some exciting results to share from the reasoning team in the near future.
One thing that's already out there actually is some progress on formal mathematics. And so we've had other people join the team who've been pushing this work, which I think is pretty cool. And we've been doing it over the past year or so, where we've been helping to shorten mathematical formal proofs for the mathematical theorem proving community. So it's actually kind of a similar pattern in some ways to what we did in Dota, where we applied AI to a problem domain that has an active community of passionate amateurs or professionals, and are trying to figure out how to help them solve their problems better. And so at this point, you can actually find OpenAI authored proofs in these repositories of proofs where human experts have spent long amounts of time trying to formalize mathematics. Wow. And we've been able to shorten those and come up with very elegant proofs that humans weren't able to. And so we've been making that better and better. And I think that's like one sort of arc that has come out of this team.
That's really cool to know that Dota's been, a small part of something like that. We've got 2 more questions coming up. Chet, you'd be able to handle one of the last questions left for an OpenAI?
One more. Learning and conquering such a deeply complex game like Dota 2 is already a huge accomplishment. Where could OpenAI go from here in gaming to possibly top that? And are there any plans for OpenAI to return to gaming?
Well, so I guess I already said that I still think that Dota, we made obviously, I think a really huge milestone, but I think there's still more to do, and that's I think the beauty of Dota is that there is always more. So I again would be very excited to return in the future, but always through this lens of making progress, right? That I think that for us, the real goal of OpenAI is to build general intelligence. We want to build machines that are able to help humanity solve problems that are unsolvable. And you can see it in some small ways where maybe we help teach the pros or OG some techniques or some ways of thinking about Dota that they didn't before, that then helped them approach their craft in a more deep and full way. And I think that we want to do that across the spectrum. We want to help solve large-scale scientific problems that people haven't been able to tackle. Think about things like climate change that are these like massive scientific and coordination and organizational and societal challenges that we want to see if this technology can help accelerate what humans can do in all these arenas. So that's the big goal. And I think that every area where you have passionate humans who want to accomplish something hard is a place that our technology can really go and both help those humans, but also we can improve our techniques and improve the technology so that it's able to go across the spectrum. So I think that the answer is we're going to keep going bigger and bigger and try to solve harder problems. And I think that that's what we've been doing for the past couple of years, and you should expect to see more of that from us.
Seeing how far that you guys have already come, my brain can't even imagine how far your team will go in the future. But I mean, we can only expect good things.
Yeah,
more amazing things.
Absolutely. And we've just got one more question for you guys. What was the most meaningful win you guys encountered through that? Was it actually beating OG, or was there something behind the scenes that was like a more important win to the team?
Brooke, you want to take this one?
Sure. I mean, I think for me personally, it was our first internal loss against the team, and I think it's because it happened so quickly. When we started out, it was just so slow to learn. Like the bots had to learn concepts like health and abilities, and moving around essentially. And so for a long time, it didn't even show any kind of signs of life. And then we had this internal event that we were going to showcase a little bit of our A team playing. And I think the week before that, we went 1-1 for the first time in playing them, and we were like, oh, this is maybe there's starting to be something there. Maybe we kind of screwed it up ourselves. And then the following week, we just got pretty crushed. It was rough, and I think that was when we sort of realized how quickly it could progress once it had a basic grip on the different controls and being able to maneuver around the game.
That's cool. It's like it's like raising your child and seeing it walk, right? Is that like an accurate comparison?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, we try not to personify it too much, but there's definitely some like pride that we felt in it. Especially in some of our internal testing, we had to sort of check ourselves because we wanted the bot to succeed. So sometimes some players who were testing it, like Shimon, would be sitting in base and being like, "Yep, the bot's too good. We can't beat it." And I think that was sort of like it mattered how hard we were playing and how hard we were trying to beat it, but at the same time, we wanted it to win. So we're pretty split on it.
Awesome. Thank you so much to you and the team. Greg, thank you so much for fielding some cool questions for us. Sorry, did you say something?
Yep, thank you. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say on the win front, I actually have one last anecdote that we haven't actually talked about publicly before that I think could be pretty cool for people to hear. So this is for the 1v1 bot, and I think that Jakob or Shimon alluded to it, that we were actually improving the technology at TI, but we showed up at TI with a bot that was like, it could beat a semi-pro, like it had just beat a semi-pro that weekend, but like, it wasn't, sort of the superhuman level just yet. And we showed up, we played Blitz, and we played 2 pros, and we dropped a game, but we beat them. And they're like, okay, like it beat us, but like, come on, you're never going to beat the top people. And so that night, Jakob and Shimon and some of the other team just stayed up all night to try to get this bot to train again. And so we're trying to get it to learn. That we realized that we lost to Pycat because he'd realized that he's doing some tricks with the stick that just weren't in the training. So we had to add that. Next day we had a day off. We played against Slacks, I believe, and had great fun, but we did beat him. But so Wednesday was the big day. We were going to get Arteezy and Sumail, and we were just like, all right, like these are the top two. We are gotta have our A game. And that it was this whole crazy thing where the new bot. It turned out that it was extremely good late game, but it was really bad in the beginning. And so we sort of stitched together the two bots. And so Arteezy shows up. We finished all this work 1 hour beforehand, and he gets crushed. He's only supposed to play 3 games and hand it over to Sumail, but he gets addicted, and he just goes, and he keeps playing. And so Sumail runs out of time, so he has to reschedule for the next day. But their coach is watching. Arteezy's playing. He's like, Sumail's going to do this, like no problem. So the next day, that additional 24 hours of training was enough. And Sumail just went 0-5, I believe. And so there you go. It was just like every single day we just happened to play at exactly the right level. And that's kind of honestly part of why I was so gung ho for the 5v5 is that I realized that we really do have something special here that really can learn and get to that level.
And there was a big change that we made to training right at that point, which was we increased the horizon that the model looked beyond to sort of. Before it tried to optimize for sort of its position in the game, 10, 20 seconds ahead, and we increased that to like 1 or 2 minutes. And before that really hurt learning because it's a much harder problem to like think where you'll be 2 minutes from now than 20 seconds. But we were training on way more compute than we have ever been before at that point. So we thought, why not try it? And yeah, seeing it kind of go. Just like start developing these new strategies like baiting and just completely playing on a different level and beating everyone. Like that was just amazing. And yeah, we really knew we were onto something at that point.
Yeah, the reason actually the new bot was bad at the beginning was because it would walk into the lane and lose half of its life to try to bait the enemy into unfavorable position. It was like really spectacular to see that. And it was very, very frustrating for our playtesters.
It's okay.
Cool.
OpenAI
Thank you so
will
much.
grow and learn from all of these experiences and smash pros like Arteezy and Sumail. But anyway, thank you so much, Greg and the team for sitting down and giving us a lot of insight into OpenAI and also into the future. So our next guest that we have on our lovely Q&A panel is Peter Abiel, and he is an AI expert. That's the title that we were given. He is an AI expert, and he is also the professor and director of the Robot Learning Lab at UC Berkeley, and also an advisor to many AI and robotics startups like OpenAI. So let's bring him on. Hey,
everyone.
Hey.
Hi, Peter.
Nice headphones.
How you doing?
What was it like being on Artificial Gamer?
Sorry, I'm not sure I get that question.
Like, what was the feel? What was it like to be a part of the Dota scene? Because for you to be an AI expert and to see it applied to a video game, what were like the feelings that were going through your mind? Was it cool to see?
So I think it's I think AI has been driven forward by often showcasing very big results on games because humans love playing games and they're very hard for humans to master. And I think it's it's really exciting to see this new big milestone. I mean, it was achieved a while back, and now we see the movie. But such a complicated game as Dota, I think it's amazing that it can actually play it.
Cool. Well, we have a lot of questions for you as well as an AI expert. Let's bring up our first question.
All right. Well, I guess I'll be taking the question then. Since we don't have any community questions just yet, be sure to throw in that hashtag artificial gamer film if you guys have any questions that you want to be able to throw the way of some of our experts and our panel. Peter, I would love to know from the perspective of what happened here with OpenAI and both playing in the 1v1, also the OpenAI 5. Is there anything that the OpenAI team brought to your field? Because your field is specifically in reinforcement learning and how to speed that up. Was there anything that OpenAI like really unveiled?
Yes. So when I was at OpenAI, I wasn't part of the project, but I was there at the time when the project was running. And when there was a lot of talk about this project, at least for me and many other people in the field, the thinking was to crack something like Dota that has such a long decision-making horizon. There's so much involved to play one game. Compare that to other games like chess or Go. The number of moves you make is far less, just tens of moves versus thousands of moves. And so the thinking was that something fundamentally different would have to be done compared to what had been done before in reinforcement learning. And I think the really surprising finding from the project was that if you do everything right with existing methods and are capable of scaling them up really well, it can actually work already. And I don't think many people saw that coming, that you could scale up PPO, which was the prevailing reinforcement learning method before that. PPO with LSTMs, one of the standard methods for language processing at the time, combine those and you can actually crack Dota. I think that was really, really surprising.
Now, for some of our viewers who may not know exactly some of the applications of AI, can you tell us like some of the newest applications of what we can see artificial intelligence and how it's affecting our lives?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, AI is everywhere these days. I mean, you open your phone with face recognition. That's AI behind the scenes processing the image of your face and turning it into a decision that that's you. Fingerprint recognition, speech recognition. It's everywhere. Now, the kind of AI that is behind Dota, the Dota bots, is not everywhere yet. It's a little bit of different kind of AI. So the AI that we see in most of the world is based on pattern recognition, whereas reinforcement learning is about achieving goals. You kind of task the bot and say, win the game, and it has to figure out how to do that from its own trial and error. And I would say that's still a little bit in earlier stages, and that's why these research breakthroughs are so exciting, that it's actually showing signs of life that things can be learned through trial and error to achieve goals as opposed to pure pattern recognition. But I think we'll see that in the foreseeable future. I mean, natural applications for reinforcement learning would be things like, maybe an automated piano teacher that monitors your learning and gives you feedback, or maybe for regular school that can do personalized feedback. What is the right homework for you to work on next? And so you could learn a lot faster in a personalized way. It could be in medicine, personalized treatments, that anything that plays out over time, really, where multiple decisions have to be made to achieve an outcome. That's where reinforcement learning is going to play a big role. And I think application-wise, that's not there just yet, but that's where that's headed. And robotics, of course, that's a big one, but I think you'll hear more about that in a later discussion. OpenAI has done some work there too.
Well, coming from an environment of gamers, speaking of robotics, a very common joke, of course, is we're talking about artificial intelligence, Skynet, right? And like everybody makes a joke about like, oh, artificial intelligence, what is it going to be doing next? What is one thing that you want people watching this documentary, what is one thing that you want them to be able to take away as sort of a lesson about artificial intelligence and what it's going to mean for us?
So I think the biggest lesson is probably that at a high level, if you're able to collect enough data on a specific problem, likely an AI system can internalize the pattern in that data, whether it's learning to internalize the pattern of how to play Dota or learn to internalize the pattern of how to generate text for an article or maybe write code, which is something OpenAI showcased in an amazing demo not too long ago. And so this general notion that if there's a way to collect enough data, today's neural networks can probably learn the pattern in that data.
Would you say that? Would you say that anything is possible to be achieved through artificial intelligence, or is there anything that you think that AI would not? It's just not possible for AI to eventually do?
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting. There will be people saying, okay, today's AI cannot do X, Y, or Z. But I think ultimately what your question is getting at is, is it just a matter of time, right? Will there be a time when it can do everything? And I don't see why not. Because if you think about it, I mean, our brain has storage, has compute, has sensory modalities to take in information from the world and process that information with the storage and compute. And I don't see, why computers wouldn't fundamentally be able to build up the same capabilities over time. It might take a long time, but I don't think there's anything magical in our heads beyond sensory inputs, actuation into the world, and then, of course, a lot of storage and compute on the inside.
So does that mean that in the future, at TI 25, do you think that there's a possibility that we would see AI team versus AI team in the grand finals?
I think somebody made a meme like that where it was AI team from Russia versus AI team from Russia versus AI team from China versus AI team from China as the top bracket in the system with AI teams from all kinds of countries. But no, I mean, 25, it's hard to know if it's hard to put timelines on this. I think that's one of the hardest things with AI is to know when it's going to happen, when it's how long it's going to take. But I mean, once there's one AI team, it's not unreasonable that there would be multiple, because usually once it's figured out once, it means the time is right, that the ideas are floating around, that the resources are there to do it. So yeah, my hunch is if one AI team can be in the top 10, let's say, I don't see why there couldn't be multiple if there were multiple efforts.
Cool. Well, I, for one, welcome my new robot Dota overlords. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us for some questions and giving us some good insight into artificial intelligence.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks very much for having me on.
Thank you. So it looks like we're having just a little bit of a technical difficulty, so while that gets set up, let's hop into some Q&A with Chad. How about that?
Oh, yeah, that sounds good, Chad. You ready for your...
You're on the hot seat now.
Well, I don't know. You guys kind of put the best material first. So.
No, we save the best for last, Chad. That's
yeah,
all
we
you.
really do. So tell me about the future. So, you saw that Greg laid down the gauntlet, right? And he's saying that they might do more with Dota and OpenAI. So do you think that there might be some more content for another artificial gamer?
I mean, I'm certainly not in a position to speculate on that, but I think that if OpenAI was to pick up the challenge, I would be happily there to document more of it. So
yeah, what has been your process? So you've been kind of the linchpin, right, between the OpenAI world and the Dota 2 world, and kind of like picking up on both. Is there some similarities you see between like the people that you worked with in OpenAI, and then obviously you had interviews with like some of OG, for example?
I think the most obvious similarity is just thinking deeply, right? I mean, I think that as Greg had alluded to, having these difficult problems and having people care about them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not enough for a problem to be hard. Like, people have to really want a solution, I mean, and I think that that's the thing that's really interesting, right? And so, yeah, I think that there was absolutely that similarity. I mean, I think that you can think of Dota as a constant problem, right? I mean, the game is constantly evolving. The characters and their abilities are constantly evolving. So it's a new challenge. It's a new problem all the time. And I would think as a player, that's part of what keeps it interesting. I mean, that was a question I'd ask a lot of players, honestly, because that was something I didn't necessarily understand. Like, the game, like, to me, like, wait, this game has been around for almost 10 years and people are still like this excited about it. Like, that to me at the time, like, felt really unprecedented. And it was, I came to understand anyways, that it is this evolutionary thing. And in that way, I think it is. Like, it's totally similar to what is happening with the OpenAI folks and just artificial intelligence in general, is there's evolution happening and everything is always building on the last thing, right? It's like every time somebody figures something out, whether it's a new strategy or a new solution or whatever, everybody sort of looks at that and responds to it. Maybe somebody else has like aha moment, and it moves on. And so I think in that way they're very similar.
Yeah, no, I think that's something that like I also drew from my time with OpenAI and their team is that I noticed the similarity in the Dota players, and that they both seem to want that that impossible task. Like, they were just dead set. Like, I think that Greg's story about the 1v1 with Samael, and like I think that shows both the dedication and just like the drive, right, of both sides of the table, right? Is that they were encountering something that felt in many ways impossible, and they were dead set to be able to crack it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Seb summed it up really good after the finals match, and he was like, we're not nobody's sitting here thinking like, oh man, we got beat. We're like, let's play it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me a little bit about the origins of Artificial Gamer and how Milkhouse came to direct such a great film. Was it an interest in AI itself? Was it Dota? Was it a combination of both?
I mean, it was just good fortune, honestly. I mean, it just a lot of times it's it's word of mouth, or it's we had talked to some other people and our name had gotten floated out there, and somebody at OpenAI had reached out to us at one point, and these things develop over time. I mean, I don't think when we first started working on the film we necessarily knew we were going to make a documentary feature film and sort of present it in exactly this way. I mean, I think it was sort of a, let's start working on this thing and let's see what's interesting and let's see what we can make about it. And for me, like the aha moment was when I really got to sit down with the engineers. I mean, I knew it was an amazing story. I thought it was really cool. I got to look at some of their footage, and I thought, this is really interesting stuff that's happening here. But the first time we really sat down with the engineers, I mean, we did big like marathon. I think I spent 3 12-hour days kind of just editing them or interviewing them like back to back to back.
Oh my
and
gosh.
and I came away from that experience being like, wow, what a super cool group of people, and like how interesting are these people, and and that was the minute when I felt like, okay, like this is a film. Like we've got great characters, we've got a story, we've got people we want to meet and we want to know and we want to hear more from. And and those are the important things when you talk about making a movie. So that was, for me, was really the moment when I was like, yeah, we've got something here and we want to keep going. So
You've directed a number of documentaries. Is there always like a message that you're trying to put across to people? Is there anything specific for like this Artificial Gamer that you hope people take away from it?
Well, I think honestly, like the thing I think is the most important thing about this film, and what I hope people take away from it, is that sort of importance of changing perspective. I think that this film is very much, I mean, in a lot of ways, big and small, right? I mean, for the OpenAI team, it was sort of this idea of like, well, no, we think there's these tools that already exist and they're just not being utilized in the way, like if we just sort of crank everything up to 10 with these tools. And so, that was overcoming a perception. I think, you hear Notel and Seb talking about, the game, the bot playing this kind of positionist play. And I actually really like the line that Seb gives where he talks about, you look at that and your initial reaction is like, oh, it's just stupid. But then you have to think like, wait, is that my human reaction to that, or is there really value there? And I think for me, like, I think that's the really interesting thing about artificial intelligence, and the promise of it is not just that it can solve problems faster or whatever, but that it really does create this opportunity to think differently. I mean, it's kind of a cliche, this like thinking out of the box or whatever, but it's something I think we all want to aspire to. I mean, we all want to think about like new ways to solve old problems or new ways to solve problems we haven't solved yet. And I think that is the thing I would most love about this story, is the idea of changing perspectives and the importance of that. So
I like that a lot. Your film definitely gave me a lot of perspective, especially like as I mentioned earlier, I'm not a data focused person. Being able to put that all into a perspective that I could understand, it made me feel smarter. Speaking of really smart people, we actually have the OpenAI team coming back. Hey,
all right,
welcome back.
Time to try too.
Hello.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
always joke that we're going to solve general intelligence before we solve video conferencing. So it's still
Greg, I was hoping you could just continue, because you were talking about the language problem that you were going through. What other kind of projects do you have going on?
Yeah. So and actually, Michael, do you want to talk a little bit more about GPT-3, what it is, and how we got it out there?
Yeah, so about a year and a half ago now, we had this very large language model that we realized was actually starting to do very interesting things. So it was trained to predict text. So you give it a couple of paragraphs and ask it, well, based on these paragraphs, what do you think comes next? And you train it with a lot of data from the world. And over time, it learns to really like have true language comprehension. Like if you think about it, like to predict what comes after 2 paragraphs of a short story, you have to really like read and understand those paragraphs. But then we also realized that you could actually guide it. You could like give it 2 paragraphs, and then you could ask it a question about those 2 paragraphs. And when it sees two paragraphs and sees a question, previously this model has seen things like that out there. And it's like, oh, okay, I have to do language comprehension on the paragraphs, I have to understand the question, and then I'm going to continue with what is the likely answer.
More like,
Yeah, and in practice, it works really well. So we decided that this was something that would be useful to the world, and we built a system, what we call it, OpenAI API, to be able to access it at one request at a time. Because these are very large models, they're very expensive to run. If you think for a small business or a startup, you really want access to that model for like tiny slices of time, like a couple seconds at a time. So we built out the OpenAI API, and GPT-3 was the first model we had. Now we have a couple more models, and we'll talk about them in a sec. But overall, I'd say, my last 18 months has been working on this, and it's been a lot of fun.
So the funny thing for me is, so Michael actually is the main person who built Dota Arena, OpenAI Arena, where this is where our thousands of different teams were playing against OpenAI 5, and he basically just did the same exact thing, but in the language domain. And
yeah,
it's pretty cool that it's the same,
games, you hand out
exact kind of thing.
Were you guys aware
Exactly.
of GPT-3's use? Because we have actually been using it on social media in esports specifically. Are you guys aware of these meme accounts that actually uses this?
Actually, honestly, so we do internally track kind of what people are doing with our technology. We think that's really important. And it's really being used across a huge variety of different stuff that we would never have imagined, right? The idea of a system that you can talk to and it talks back to you. Turns out that actually people can come up with a lot of things to do with it. And so that's actually for us, I think one of the really, sort of important steps forward is that for Dota, I think that we had a competitive system. We let people play against it for a little bit, but quickly got out of date. We didn't maintain it, right? And it's not something that's out there right now people are playing against. But with the language work, we've really moved forward and are actually building a product that people can use and get value from. And it's awesome to hear that you're using it for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would say esports community maybe isn't as responsible as you guys. We're using it for memes. Probably not the best usage of such amazing technology. But thank you.
Not our flagship usage. I will agree with that. And so we have so other exciting things to talk about as well. Jay, do you want to talk about DALL-E?
Yeah, sure. As Greg and Michael mentioned, we've discovered that these large language models have lots of really surprising and useful capabilities. But fundamentally, they sort of capture a limited subset of what the world is all about. That is kind of the text-only piece of it. And DALL-E and other models like Clip and other work are efforts in the direction of kind of multimodal models, which can understand different forms of input, specifically like image and text in this case. And they can do things like take a sentence and generate like a compelling image of it. So it makes for great eye candy. It's kind of realistic sometimes, surreal other times. You can get like a sofa shaped like an avocado. You can get kind of anything your mind imagines. Avocado. And one of the reasons it's really exciting is because it just shows a really deep understanding of the real world. If you think about what it takes to take a single sentence and generate like 1 million pixels out of it, there's a lot of both kind of creativity that goes into it and also like just really understanding these different concepts about what the real world is made up of. And for us, it's a step toward agents that are going to do real and useful things in the real world, like being able to perceive the world, being able to eventually kind of take actions on it, sort of a step in that direction that we're really excited about.
And I think what Jay just said is really the key, right? You see it in the video in the film that we just watched, where one of the professors was saying, "Hey, we're going to need to figure out how to put background knowledge into these systems." The Dota bot started out knowing nothing about the world, right? You saw the animation of Axe just running into stuff randomly, which is a good sort of characterization of how these systems work. What we need something that already knows a lot about the world, and then learns a little bit of Dota, right? Or learns a little bit of medicine, or learns a little bit of copywriting, or whatever it is that task is. And I think that we're making real progress towards that, which I think is pretty exciting. And Enrique, do you want to talk a little bit about one specific domain that we've gone into recently?
I assume you mean Codex.
I do.
Yes.
So as we talked about, right, we have these language models, and well, there's all sorts of things out there, and some of the useful text in the world out there is actually code. Code is a very like specific domain that you could see on the internet that is actually very interesting and valuable, right? There is a lot of value in being able to write code very well. As you know, that's why engineers have jobs. But so what we did is we trained this model. GPT-3 has rudimentary knowledge of code just because it has accidentally seen code out there, but very, very broad, right? Like when we get a model and we specifically like tune it to just focus on this task, we actually see really great results, right? And code is naturally very interesting because first of all, it's measurable. So we can see that we're making progress because we're passing these, questions. But it's also there is a good combination, I think, of natural language and then technical. Usually, code has like a lot of comments on like this is what this code does, and then it does it. So Codex, as the demo is sort of showing here, can be used for a very interesting translation of natural language to like technical code writing, right? So I think it's a really great way of giving access really to people that don't have that technical knowledge, but they know what they want the code to do, right? Like we want to make a game that does this, where the ball like bounces around and like things like that, right? Like people can describe what they want to do. How does that translation actually happen into the real into code, right? And these models are able to do that, and they're getting better and better. So it's a really exciting technology, really. And we're also making it available in the API so people can play with it.
And to me, the thing that's really interesting, right, is we've talked about all these different domains. We've talked about code. We've talked about image generation. We've talked about just general language. We've talked about formal mathematics. We've talked about, obviously, Dota. The underlying technology is actually one piece of technology. Like we're a small company, we're a small team. The reason we're able to work in all these different areas is because we're really pushing forward the core deep learning technology, which is general purpose. You just show it the data and it figures out what to do. And so all of these different areas are just tests and just ways of us sort of fleshing out the details of the underlying tech. And I think that to me is the really exciting thing, is that we're really advancing the general purpose capabilities of our systems, and we're using each of these specific domains in order to understand just how well our systems are progressing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really exciting to start seeing what people are building with it as well, because then you allow startups and little businesses to build verticals on top of this technology. Mm. And yet our focus remains on really understanding what's next.
That's so cool. There's so many practical uses for it. My mind was like blown watching the rocket ship bounce against the walls.
Animated horizontally bouncing off the walls. Like, that's pretty complicated.
How do you do that? I can't.
That's really good.
I can't do that.
That's so cool.
Well, you can now.
Yeah. I can now, thanks to you. All right. Well, production, do we have some community questions for the second set of OpenAI Crew?
All right. Well, I actually have a question for Greg, and I guess the team is one of the things that I maybe learned from the documentary that I was super interested in is the idea of hidden knowledge. How did you guys manage to take that from Dota 2 and apply it to like all the projects you're applying to now?
Yeah. So I'd say that what David talked about at the beginning is probably a pretty good answer for how the biggest sort of piece of transfer. So David, do you want to talk about that again?
Yeah, I think, in the documentary you saw this cool animation of Axe with his bridge, and if you make the bridge shorter, you can help the model learn. And that's not about hidden information itself. That's just sort of a general technique for helping the model explore stuff that's hard to understand. But I think that sort of thing applies to, that is such a general technique that we can use it a lot in places where there are hidden information, and, randomly reduce the amount of hidden information and increase again to get better access to it. Another place that has hidden information that we're, working on is Minecraft, which maybe Jay could talk about.
Yeah. So I think what we're trying to do with that project is, over the last couple of years, we've seen Dota be solved, we've seen like StarCraft 2, other games like this, and I feel like a lot of these real-time esports games, we kind of have a playbook for it, right? We play lots of games. If there's a fixed objective, you can kind of use RL to train an agent to play it well. And really, like what's really interesting and going forward is worlds where these tasks aren't certain. Like the real world is like this. There's a lot of intelligent agents walking around that you see every day. We all have sort of different goals and objectives, and they kind of change all the time from day to day. And that sort of like multi-agent interaction and interestingness is a really powerful way of getting increased task diversity, of getting like changing objectives all the time that create pressures for greater intelligence. So sandbox worlds like Minecraft, where it's more open, there's no kind of fixed endpoint. This is a really like exciting, interesting direction that we're moving into.
All right, that's really cool. Well, I just want to say, I think we don't have any more community questions, so thank you so much for answering all of our questions, and also just thank you in general, probably from myself as well as the Dota 2 community, for allowing us to be a part of this. This is really cool. We really enjoyed it,
cool.
I think. Yeah.
Awesome. This has been.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a really important step along the way.
Yeah.
Wow. The Artificial Gamer made me feel like really smart, because I just thought that I had like a basic grasp of artificial intelligence, and then the OpenAI crew came in and they just have so much more going on that it's just, there's just so much, like artificial intelligence really like affects every single part of our lives, especially now that we're all attached to our phones and our computers and all that stuff. It's amazing. I don't know. My mind is just blown, and all of a sudden I feel stupid again.
Well, don't worry. We've got some very, very smart people that we can keep talking to. We've got one more call in, and that's going to be with some professional Dota 2 players, and Gunnar, who's going to be joining us, and then former professional Dota 2 player, Gods. What's going on, guys? How did you guys enjoy the documentary? What did you think of it?
I kind of met them at TI7 when they released the 1v1 bot. I kind of met the whole team briefly, and it was really cool to see an entire film about it.
Okay, what is the Q&A panel?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I found the film really interesting. I've always been kind of interested and curious about machine learning and AI and just how it works. And I think I was very skeptical when it first came into Dota, like, oh, this Dota is such a complex game. Surely it's not possible. It's not like, chess or Go where there's a finite number of moves. To me, Dota is like infinite possibilities, but like over time, my perspective just changed, and I kind of learned a lot from watching the whole OpenAI journey.
Now, Gunnar, you said you got to experience this at TI7. Can you tell us any of the behind the scenes of that was going on? Because it didn't just play up against Dendi, right? It played up against several other players, yourself included. I think Pycat was the first to beat it, right?
Yeah, but they released it to the public. There's like a little, I think, Red Bull, like kind of arena. And they set it up right after they showed it on main stage versus Dendi. And I was actually in the first group, and some would say I cheesed the bot on my first try. Some would say I beat it legit. I may have gotten raises and mangoes, but I managed to beat it, and that's actually how I got to meet the whole team. Because they were kind of like, who's this guy, and how do you beat it the first try? So it was a really great experience to actually go to play it.
Oh, okay, so I think that's funny, because I think Pycat used a very similar method, right? Is that I think he just stacked fairy fires. I think was his idea. So it seemed like you guys had a similar idea of like instant consumables and being able to like surprise the bot in that way. That's really cool. Gods, did you get to experience OpenAI or OpenAI 5, either one?
I did not ever play against it. I was just observer. I think what's interesting, like talking about people cheesing it, is I feel like, I feel like so many people took the approach of we got to do stuff that's not going to spec. We saw Seeker when they talked about it. I feel like OG were unique, where it was like they tried to fight them head on. They tried to learn from the bots, whereas so many other people saw it more as a challenge to try and find a way to manipulate to beat the bots. Whereas OG, I feel like we're unique in that, like let's actually just try and beat them straight up.
With the current state of Dota, do you think that there are additional ways outside of like fairy fires, mangoes, and hiding in the trees that players could cheese out the bots?
Neutral items would be interesting for me, because there's so much like randomness. They can't like plan out that they're gonna get certain items, and even like players, I know like Envy was playing Weaver and he's like, if I get Quiver guys, I'm gonna go completely different items this game. And I think it'd be interesting to know like how bots calculate what items to buy if they get certain neutrals or who to give it to and all that stuff.
Oh, Gunnar, from your experience being a current professional player, do you feel like there was anything to learn on the Dota side of watching OpenAI 5?
We talked about it like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. We literally were talking about OpenAI and how they thought how playing it and watching OG play versus it. And I know Z-Freak was talking about how OG talked about the bot and what they learned from it and the way that they would switch who laned where depending on who got items and who was strong versus laning versus who. And they would even type in the chat, I'm now playing position 2, you're position 1 now. And like all this stuff works, but it's so hard to put into a real game of Dota.
It goes to show like the complexity of Dota, that there's a lot of different ways to be able to play the game, right? And there's always something new to learn. So
yeah, I would say absolutely. And I think one of the things, Notel talked to me about is that I think, and said that Dota players get very stubborn in their ideas of how to play their game. I think we've seen a big shift over the last 2-3 years where we're seeing roles be a lot more fluid. We're seeing heroes get picked and played in very unconventional ways. Heroes you used to think of only as, like a carry being played as like a support. Farm distribution is very different to what it used to be. And that's not all entirely because of OpenAI, but I think that it did help open people's minds up to the idea that, the conventional way of playing Dota with this 1 to 5 position allocation and set lanes and all this and set farm distribution isn't the only way to think about Dota.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the things that probably like more hardcore Dota fans noticed was like the difference between maybe like the Chinese legends and how they stacked all their net worth on burning compared to, I know a lot of talk was about how OpenAI was like very even on their net worth. Everybody had an impact. And so, yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that I think the Dota 2 community learned, and glad to be able to hear from both of you. Gods and Gunnar, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Sumi, I think we're kind of wrapping things up. It feels like it's been, this has been like 3-4 years in the making at this point in time. It's been a long time.
I was talking to Chad about it earlier. He said that it took 2 years or so to make.
Well, I was involved with it for about 2 years. I mean, when I first started working with OpenAI, I would have been actually in that gap between TI8 and the OG matches. So that was the kind of end of 2018, beginning of 2019. That was sort of when I first started getting involved with the project. And so yeah, it's been a long and wonderful journey to get to this point. So
I mean, it's a product of love, love and passion, and I'm glad that we're able to share it with you.
Well, and I want to point out, like, not just of my passion, right? I mean, I think that one of the things that's really important to keep in mind when you watch a movie like this is that, I mean, it takes so many people, right? I mean, and not just the filmmakers. I mean, we the animators, the subject matter experts. I mean, people like Moose, who was one of my most trusted advisors on the Dota side and would watch animation sequences and watch cuts of matches and things like that. And I would like, please more. It's like, tell me, is this like even close to right? Like what have I got wrong here? And the same thing on the AI side. I mean, beyond the experts you see in the film, there were a lot of other academics that we spoke with at length about sort of how are we presenting AI? How are we talking about the field? And so, and then the subjects themselves. I mean, I think, what makes documentary films kind of different and unique is that they live on the generosity of the subjects, right? I mean, all of the engineers, all the players, all the casters, they spent a massive amount of time with me. I mean, there's easily 60 hours of interview conducted for this film. I mean, you sat down, we talked for like over an hour, I think, for just a little bit that you appear in the film, So, were it not for people's generosity and their willingness to spend that time, like we wouldn't have a story to tell. And so I think that, that passion and that enthusiasm, I mean, hopefully we can bring that, but if it's not matched by the subjects, we'll never put a great story together. So
awesome. Well, I have another question for you. Do you have a passion for answering questions? Because guess what? We have some more community questions coming your way. Let's go to the first question. Did you know what you were getting into when working around the complexities of not only AI, but also Dota 2? And can you speak about some of the challenges about trying to convey that type of information to a broader audience who may not, probably don't know anything about the game?
You know, I thought I did when we first started this project. Like, I thought I knew something. And I learned very quickly that I knew almost nothing. You know, that's just part of this process. I mean, I think that that's one of the wonderful things about working in documentaries is that you get that education, right? You get to sort of step into somebody else's world for a little while. You get to sort of see things through their perspective, and you get to learn. And so I think that, yeah, it was really like that's like the biggest challenge of this film. Like, it would have been challenging to make a film for a general audience that was just about Dota. It would have been challenging to make a film for a general audience that was just about artificial intelligence, you know? So, like, you know, why not make it harder? And we'll just throw those things together into the same film and see how that goes.
But it turned out so good.
Out of curiosity, what other, like, you have to step into somebody else's world. You've done some other documentaries. What other worlds have you kind of jumped into?
Well, you know, everything from, you know, we've done stories recently. Or not recently, but a few years ago, I was on a ranch in Montana, and we were getting ready to go rope cows for branding. You know, completely different experience. We did a film on Legos and the fan culture around Legos, and got to spend a lot of time around some of these master builders and just incredible, amazing things. You know, I was fortunate enough to work on a film about the shower scene in Psycho, and that one wasn't particularly special because we got to go talk to a lot of really wonderful filmmakers and kind of nerd out with them about their craft. So I mean, it runs the gamut, and it is really cool. And I think it's all just, you know, for me, like, it is the best education, you know, and it's the thing that, like, you know, you not only learn about that subject, but, you know, you take something from that. And I think that, like, that's something that, like, when you look at something like Dota, or you look at the things that OpenAI is doing, like, that's inspiring, you know. And then you're like, well, now I got to match game, you know.
I would say that you did a fantastic job of matching their passion with Artificial Gamer. Let's take a look at our next question. Cap?
Oh, I think I already asked you this question. Favorite Dota 2 hero? So it is Axe?
It is Axe. It is Axe. Probably... You know, probably Earthshaker being a close second, but again, it's purely aesthetic, right? Like, I just think he's cool looking. He's got some, like, great moments.
You like the big burly dudes. That's what I'm getting from it.
Who would your least favorite Dota 2 hero be, and why is it techies?
Don't say techies, Chad. Don't listen to her. Don't go to the dark side. Techies fine. We had a lot of fun with that Showmatch earlier, right?
All right, let's go to our next question. All right, Cap, you can do this one.
If you can magically apply deep reinforcement learning AI to one task in your daily life to make it easier, what would it be?
You know, I thought about this, and it's hard because, I mean, I think, as everybody has pointed out, like, it's already there, right? Like, we use AI for so many things. I mean, even in, like, it's really interesting that there's been a real rush of AI technologies, even in the stuff that I do. I mean, a lot of the editing software and the animation software that I use has AI components to it now that help speed those things up. So I feel like kind of there already is, but I think if I was going to pick something, and this is going to sound kind of silly, but, like, it would probably be like trying to understand my dog better, right? Like, I've got this little dog.
That's a good one.
He's like totally my co-pilot. I know he's thinking things, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe artificial intelligence would be able to sort of, like, catalog all of his, like, expressions and give me a better sense of, like, what he's actually trying to say to me, because I generally don't have a
like
clue.
that dog collar from Up that translated it into human speech.
You know, it's funny because, like, they've got this artificial intelligence. We've got the Dota 2 bot, but they're also talking about learning. I love an artificial intelligence that teaches me to be a better Dota 2 player.
Yes. But we have that in Dota Plus.
Next question. Give me the next question.
What's one thing you feel doesn't get enough credit in the creation process of a project like Artificial Gamer?
Well, you know, I just kind of spoke to that, but I do think it is, again, like, the generosity of the subjects, right? I mean, it's just, you know, the people that spend so much time and patience, right? I mean, like, again, like, I don't come to this thing as an expert, and I'm kind of not really an expert even coming out of it, but you know, but, like, I ask a lot of really dumb questions, and people are, like, very gracious, and, you know, they take that time and you know, and they educate me so that hopefully I can kind of take and spend some of that and then put it back into the film. And so I think that is, not just with this film, but I think with most documentary films, there's a generosity of spirit on the side of the subject that is required in order for it to be a good project. So.
I do think that conversely, though, for you to come in wanting to learn about Dota, learn about the community, that is something that isn't overlooked by the community either. When one of the things that I've learned when I started hosting Dota events is that a lot of people are very, very kind and willing to help you, but at the same time, they feel happy that you want to learn as well. And I do feel like that probably applied that way too, right? Like, Cap, do you feel like, isn't it an honor for Chad to come in and ask about a game that we love and bring it to, put it into a film?
Yeah. I do think it's really cool, and I think that's probably just a human nature thing that people want to be able to share the important parts of their life, like whether it's ranching in Montana, right?
Yeah.
Like being able to show some of like the passion of what their life is about. That's a very human thing, right?
Yeah, it is. And I think that, that's, again, like coming back to the things we were talking about earlier and sort of like what makes us human. I think that curiosity is another important thing, right? And so, yeah, for me, again, like that's the reason I do this, is because I am fascinated by all people. And I think it's just like any day I get to spend a day with somebody doing something I've never seen done before, like, is just the perfect day. So
I love it. I think we have one more question.
Yes, one final question for you, Chad. Are you ready for it? Drum roll. Any career role models or inspirations?
Well, I will say, like, I'm happy to be in this place and time where it feels like the things that I like working on, this sort of nonfiction documentary storytelling, it feels like we're in kind of a golden age of that right now. Like there's more diversity of storytelling and storytellers and types of stories, and so that itself is just it feels like a great time to be doing this kind of work. And there are a lot of really great, amazing filmmakers out there, but I think again, like to me, like the thing that I really draw the most inspiration from is the subjects and the things, like when I see somebody being very passionate about what they're doing, that gets me very excited and very inspired to sort of to tell that story, and I love stories like these. I mean, honestly, like stories around fan cultures, stories about artists, stories about engineers, people who make things. I mean, those are broadly like the kinds of stories that I'm most excited about, because again, I think that energy, that creative force, that desire to sort of push something into the world that people haven't seen before is like something that you can always feed off of. So
I love it. So final question, which isn't really a question, but it is a question. Do you have anything to say about Milk House? Is there anything, that you want to like tease or drop or announce? Any kind of plugs or shout outs?
I only that keep an eye out. We're working on lots of exciting things. It's the kind of nature of the work that we do that we don't really talk about it until it already exists. But yes, please keep an eye out, because we've got lots of exciting things coming out. So
we couldn't get any leaks, everyone. Sorry, we tried our best. But once again, thank you so much, Chad, for joining us.
Thank you so much. I
for
really
sharing
love
your
being
film.
Here.
We're so lucky. We're like, it's so cool to see
it was a lot
Dota
of fun.
in a film.
The honor was completely mine, and thank you guys, and thank everybody for coming today and taking part in this. So
Cool. All right. Well, Cap, we have reached the end of our broadcast. How about you close us out?
All right. Well, I guess that's been about 3 or 4 years of OpenAI and the story in Dota 2, and I think it all just comes together here with this documentary of artificial gamery. We hope you guys enjoyed the film. I know we certainly did, and we'll see you guys in future Dota 2 broadcasts.